Tell you what, I'll see that they put your picture on a six-pack of Bud. Brother to brother, where are you going? Walking a tightrope, get on or off. Fear of rejection is all you're afraid of, but that never stopped. You know it never stopped. You nothing ever stopped you before. No, it never
Regular
stopped.
what?
Never stopped you. It never stopped you. No, it never stopped you. Never stopped you.
That's a pop.
Welcome back to Regular Dudes Watch Stuff. I'm Jamie G, and I became so cynical the same way you get to Carnegie Hall. Practice. I'm back with the Soup Deuce and Magnum Mills to talk about the stuff we've been watching. Our featured review this evening is something that stars one of our favorites, Christian Slater, because yes, we are Gleaming the Cube. Soup, this was your pitch. This was your baby. Go ahead, introduce yourself, and get us hyped to Gleam the Cube.
What's happening, everybody? It's me, the Soup. Welcome to Gleaming the Dudes, man. Here we are, about to gleam the fuck out of this thing. But yeah, I went ahead and picked it, man. It was a toss up on I believe it was Slater Picks or something like that, or Slater Flicks, and I landed on Gleaming the Cube just because I felt like it was something a little offbeat, something that we haven't done. This style of movie really. So it's a classic, 80s kind of joint that I grew up watching and loved as a younger version of myself and still enjoy now to this day on the rewatch. So here we are.
The hype meter is squarely in the, at least in the middle of the zone for myself, Magnum Mills, and Jamie G. Did you say practice? Like, not a game. We're not talking about a game. We're talking about practice? Practice? Really? Right now, all this stuff going on, Gleaming the Cube, you're talking about practice. All right. Thank you at least for practicing good judgment by checking out this episode of Regular Dudes Watch Stuff. You can find our content wherever you get your pods and on YouTube. Find us on social media at Dudes Watch Stuff. Same place on the World Wide Web, dudeswatchstuff.com. Very simple, very easy to remember, just like the flaps, FLAPS. Very important to our success. Follow, like, and please subscribe. If you had fun, make sure you press the thumb.
Not all of us are cool enough to know which hole to climb down into if we need a new skateboard, all right? But we are cool enough to fill the holes in this house. Soup, tell us what you've been checking out and filling your holes with.
Well, I'm going to start right off with one hole I've been filling, man, and this one you guys will appreciate because there's been a lot of talk about this, and I decided to go ahead and get caught up on Righteous Gemstones, man. So I am right there on the fourth season here, and got 2 more episodes left, I believe. So I've enjoyed it. It's great. So very glad I got into that one, and I'm liking it a lot, man. It's good stuff.
Yeah, it's right.
You got a favorite character? Why is it Uncle Baby Billy?
I don't know if he's my favorite character or not. He's right there. If not, man, I do really like. Believe it or not, I like the sister a lot, Judy. Right?
Oh yeah, Judy's a big favorite too. So yeah, we like all of them, but yeah, Judy's,
I mean, Baby Billy's definitely the man.
Judy's a good answer though. We'll accept Judy. That's also a good answer.
Yeah.
What else have you been checking out?
Judy's great.
Well, something a little different than watching TV. I've been getting back into playing chess. Randomly, I haven't played in a few years. Randomly got talked into playing a game with somebody about a week ago or so, give or take. And that was a physical game on a board, and it went well. And then I decided to get on chess.com on a recommendation. And I just been slaying it on chess.com. So if anybody wants to play me on chess, send a message, man. I'll give you my tag or whatever it is, handle, what have you, and I'll slay you on chess.
Oh, that's a good one there. We like that.
I've been having a lot of fun. I've been having a lot of fun on chess, man. It's a game of all games. I've always liked it, and it's something I enjoy. It kind of takes me away from my normal world and puts me into a good thinking process. So it's good for me. Aside from that, I randomly watched Willow on a Val Kilmer recap. So I gave that one a look. I haven't seen it in many years, and that was a good rewatch. Also, Also, Starship Troopers was a good rewatch. I haven't seen in a lot of years either. I forgot how many people were in that movie, that I recognized. Oh, that person's in this movie too, and a lot longer than I remember it being, but very entertaining. So that was a fun one to revisit as well.
Yeah, what Denise Richards, what a career, right? I mean, a nuclear scientist in a Bond movie. She's a big spaceship pilot in Starship Troopers. So, like all that. And shout out to playing chess. And that's chess, not chest. Some people get confused. Chest, two totally different things.
Do you not know how to play chess?
Of course I know how to play chess.
It's not chest, it's chess. With an S.
I'm pretty sure it's chest.
I am also caught up on the Righteous Gemstones, and I have watched the first two episodes that are available as we record this of The Last of Us Season 2. Jamie G, I think you have caught this one as well. This is a little tough to do in a non-spoiler fashion, but I will say that my guess is this is going to go down as one of the best episodes in the entire run of the show, of the series. It's a hell of an episode of television, probably one of the episodes of the year. It's been picked up through season 3. My guess is that will be the end, but it does not look like season 2 is the end of the road, as was once thought. Jamie G, anything you'd like to add about the first two episodes, specifically the second episode here, the second season of The Last of Us?
It was one of the greatest episodes of television that I've seen in recent years. Had definitely had Game of Thrones, that those epic battles and epic episodes of Game of Thrones. It had all of that, and more. I mean, it was truly so edge of your seat, unbelievable the way it was shot, the way it was looked, and then of course just exceptionally hard to watch. And I thought that there was so much kind of going into this. And as somebody who wasn't familiar with the game, I didn't play the video game, so I didn't have that spoiler with this. It surprised me. It was incredibly difficult to watch. It was an insane episode. Can't say enough good things about it, dude. Totally blew me away.
Funny, I got the same Game of Thrones vibes. I was like, man, somewhere in a studio, I know someone like their note was at some point like they're reading the book or whatever. Even though this isn't really necessarily from the game like this, but like this is exactly like Game of Thrones beats The Walking Dead at a certain point in this episode.
Yeah.
But also crossed with a lot of the feeling of some of the stuff from The Last of Us. I mean, it is a very kind of visceral game. Does harken back a lot too. Maybe not Game of Thrones as much, maybe in scope, but the Walking Dead more so in terms of where the gameplay was with the infected kind of subbing in as a zombie. So definitely enjoying that thus far. I've also caught the first 3 episodes of Andor season 2. This is the final season. It's going to run for 12 episodes. Pretty interesting drop here. They're only doing 4 weeks, 3 episodes per each week. Very interesting. Thought the first 3 were good. Maybe not quite what I was hoping for, but they're kind of doing it that each 3 represent a year in Andor's life. This is a Star Wars thing, but honestly, you don't really need to have seen much Star Wars other than probably the original movie. It would help if you see Rogue One, I guess, because it is technically a prequel to Rogue One. But honestly, I almost wish I hadn't seen Rogue One. It hasn't really quite started crossing over into the territory with the characters we know from the movie too much, but it is starting to. So that was a very good one. And I finished up the 3rd season of The Wheel of Time over on Prime. Again, this is based on the Wheel of Time series by Robert Jordan. This is long, like 13, 14 books, something like that. Hasn't been picked up for 4, but it sounds like they're trying to do a thing where they're going to figure out, how do we wrap this up in like 3 more seasons or something like that. So I'm expecting it to kind of get a pickup to at least wrap it up somewhat here. But this is a show that started out kind of slow. I watched it more or less from Amazon's track record and people who I knew who recommended the books. Really hit its stride about halfway through the 2nd season. 3rd season was by far the best one that they've done. So I do hope that it gets picked up for season 4. Jamie G, other than Last of Us and Gemstones, what have you been filling those holes with?
Yeah, those have been keeping me pretty busy, those two, but I continue to work my way through Silo over on Apple TV. It is so cool. It just keeps getting more interesting. It keeps creating new things to think about and wonder and speculate. And it's just the way it's shot, this whole world that they've created is so cool, man. I really enjoy this show. I'm about halfway through season 2, plan to get that wrapped up here, hopefully this week. But yeah, I've been really enjoying Silo. And then Ultimately, I've been actually filling my ear holes, man. I've been checking out over on the Live Fish app, the Fish Spring Tour. They did a West Coast thing, Pacific Northwest and West Coast thing. Tonight is the end, the closer. Night three and Hollywood Bowl happens tonight. It's been absolutely fantastic. It was super awesome. I got to see Trey on the solo acoustic, just wet my whistle enough to get ready for summer tour where I'll be going to a few shows, but it's been cool to listen to these spring tour shows for sure.
Yeah, I saw a couple of, I've seen a couple of set lists and caught a couple of clips here and there, and they're on fire, dude, as they always are. But there's one that particularly stands out to me. But I feel like we're going to talk about that later. So
Fair enough. And I'm assuming we all caught at least portions of the NFL draft this weekend.
Yes.
Everyone enjoyed that. I thought it was pretty good. It was nice to see Mel Kiper's head almost explode about several hundred dozen times. So I did enjoy that. Felt almost, no, not really that bad for Shadir Sanders. I mean, he's already a millionaire. He's got a pretty good life, but you always feel a little bit bad with a kid when anonymous people are slandering him. But just watching the steam come out of Mel Kiper Jr.'s ears was fantastic.
They're kind of in the several years now of rotating the venue. For years and years and years, it was just New York City. So it's nice to see other places get some love. I thought that this year was interesting because a lot of the or the guest announcers that would come out and announce the pick talked a lot of trash. Particularly the NFC North division there because it was in Green Bay. But I found that to be like an interesting thing that I don't remember happening in years past necessarily. Also thought it was really cool. The NFL spotlighted and raised some awareness for a couple of really great causes. So say what you want about the unlimited money machine that the NFL is, and could they be doing more? Absolutely. But it was nice to see them. It was nice to see them, spotlight a couple of really great causes, give some fans, some Make-A-Wish kids, all those kind of things. Let some players, let some people other than the players live out their dreams. And so I thought that was pretty cool. All in all, with my Bills, I'm relatively happy. It was a defensive heavy draft for us. I kind of knew it was going to be, but excited to kind of now get ready. I think the next big thing is the schedule release coming in a couple weeks in May, and excited to see some of these young kids and how they look in a Bills jersey. So overall, I'm pretty happy with it.
And
those are
shout out to whoever came up with the idea of doing the guest people announcing the stuff. That was a fantastic idea. Enjoy that very much. Soup, any thoughts on the draft?
I was just thinking, man, the turnout was huge. How many people were in attendance there? Like I remember
600 grand, I think they said over the 3 days, maybe total came and went. So
Yeah.
I think at least like 100, about 200 grand a day, probably. I think the
Yeah.
third day is a little bit longer, so probably more technically, but it was really cool. I like the idea of moving the draft. I think it's worked out very well.
Yeah, sure. I think they should rotate. All 32 should get it. I mean, eventually, it should go everywhere. If you got a team, you should host a draft one year. I don't see why not.
I'm
Yeah.
there for it. And, if you have to do some of it indoors, maybe not the weather isn't all necessarily equal, but once you're into late April, I think most places are ready, even, might get a little bit chilly at times, but I think that we can
Well,
all
no matter
probably
where you are,
handle
it's
it.
always yeah. You always have the fact that what if it's raining? I mean, that could happen anywhere. So I mean, outdoor is outdoor, but now you have to think: do you have a venue that can hold 200,000 people? Maybe not, but does it have to be? I mean, I love that turnout was that big. But I think that whatever they do, it's gonna be huge. So and any place that has a team, put it in the stadium. I mean, whatever. you know.
Yeah, that's it. You got to do what you got to do, and I agree. I think it'd be a good opportunity to let every fan base get an opportunity to attend the draft in person, be part of the experience. Very cool. And I've been trying to follow up on some of our recommendations, so I wasn't able to catch all of everything, but I actually did see the first 4 episodes of My Friends and Neighbors. That's the John Hamm series over on Apple TV Plus. Good time, especially if you like John Hamm. Pretty good cast here, very solid. And I watched the first episode of Mobland. Promising. I think I need to kind of rewatch it. They have a lot going on. They're doing a lot of setup here, but as to be expected for kind of one of these big, sprawling, epic kind of gangster mobster shows. Very encouraged by the first episode. Going to check it out again. And I also watched the first episode of The Studio. This is the Seth Rogen kind of, it's not based in reality, but it's kind of based on reality that people playing themselves on the real making of movies in Hollywood. Very cool, very funny, good guest stars, some people willing to kind of make fun of themselves a little bit too. So very promising. Shout out Apple TV, getting it done really. So they might not have the biggest library, especially when it comes to movies, but their hit rate in terms of their series and original content is about as high as any streaming series for me.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thoughts on? I have not gotten around to see any Mobland yet. Does it have that guy Richie Feel? Is it something that because it's on my
Not,
list?
I wouldn't say like a Guy Ritchie feel. It's they're definitely going for maybe not quite like Sopranos, but maybe Sopranos by way of Fargo a little bit. Like it's a little bit folksy but definitely focusing on the different factions and family dynamics. Pierce Brosnan's having a lot of fun. Tom Hardy's doing his thing. A lot of good stuff in it. I didn't get to, why I watch it in and off on like a tablet, so didn't quite get to get the full experience. That's why I do want to check out the pilot again, but certainly did enough to be like, oh, this is good. But I also need to. It's one of those you probably need to put the phone down, pay real attention to it. It's not going to be a background show. You probably need to give it its proper due.
Right on. Right on. On my list, man.
Yeah, and with the ever growing list.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're not the kind of skateboarders who can actually gleam the cube, nor do we have that cool ass Pizza Hut delivery truck. I mean, man, how much do you think that even goes for nowadays? But what we do have is a ticket to ride on the hype train. Mills, tell us about any upcoming release that you are hyped about.
There is a lot of stuff. Jamie G did tease at the NFL schedule release. That's on May 14th. Definitely excited for that. Right in that ballpark, I'm excited about season 2 of Poker Face. This is on Peacock. This is Natasha Lyonne, her follow-up to Russian Doll over on Netflix. It is not a time travel show. It is a kind of a whodunit show. It's one of those things where there is a little bit of a case of the week, story of the week, but an overarching plot. Really enjoyed it. The first season. Going to try to get around to rewatching that before season 2 kicks off on May 8th. This one will be dropping on Thursdays. 12 episodes overall. They're dropping the first 3 the first week and then 1 per week on Thursdays after that. So pretty hype about this one. Enjoyed season 1. Hyped about season 2. Jamie G, what are you hyped about? You got a flick? You got something coming back? You got something new? What's getting you hyped?
I'm pretty stoked about the final season, season 8 of Big Mouth, coming out on Netflix May 23rd. Looks like it's going to be a 10 episode season, dropping all at once. Look, Nick Kroll, I typically like most things he does. Big Mouth to me has been a very funny way to look at adolescent years of kind of coming of age and becoming an adult. And I like how the shows did it. When you have cartoons, you can get away with craziness. They certainly do. It's hilarious. Big fan. So looking forward to that final season. I'm curious to see how they end the thing.
Dude, good call. I haven't thought about Big Mouth in a while. I need to jump back on that. I did watch a lot of those, so yeah, I'll have to jump back on the Big Mouth, dude. Jump back in the Big Mouth, man. Good.
Get inside that.
Yeah, apparently it's big and there's enough room for everyone. Soup, what are you hyped about outside of this upcoming Big Mouth season?
Well, I've got a couple things I'm hyped about, man. There's a movie coming out here, I think May 9th, called Clown in a Cornfield. Definitely something that should be right up my alley. Slasher flick, it's getting some pretty good hype. And after my disappointment with Hard Eyes, I'm hoping this one comes up huge, so we'll see where it sizes up on that one. So looking forward to that. Definitely on my radar. Still looking to watch. I know this one is available now. I think it's on Prime. It's the newer Kevin Smith movie, the 4:30 movie. Haven't gotten around to watching that yet, but definitely looking forward to checking that one out. I think it's going to be, from what I understand, it's going to be pretty cool. I think it'll be more true. People say it's kind of like a story of his adolescence or whatever. So it makes me curious, because anything that kind of, he puts his personal life, I think, into most of his movies. And I think this one is kind of, if it is what it says, and it's going to be really focused kind of on that, which will probably make it really awesome. So we'll see. But anyway, that's something I'm hyped about, and just kind of been putting off and haven't watched. I know it's available, so it's on my list. Other upcomings, Death of a Unicorn looks pretty cool, and there is that new Final Destination movie coming out. I believe it's like the sixth one or whatever. So that's probably going to be pretty fucking solid too, man. So there's my hypes, dude.
Can't believe Final Destination has proven to be such a resilient kind of formula here.
It was a great idea, man. And then, it's weird that there's been so many of them now, though. But I
I've
mean,
only seen the first two, I believe, and not in a long time. I liked the first one a lot when it came out. I remember the second one being decent enough, but it definitely a cool concept. All the different ways, like, death can stalk you or whatever. Very kind of complex Rube Goldberg devices to kill people. That was always, kind of more enjoyable horror to me. Kind of a little bit tongue in cheek, but still kind of fun. You get a little comedy out of it too.
yeah, and it's interesting. It's a thinker. It's not just like a gory slasher flick. Which I like those too, obviously. But this is
Right, because it could be anything now. It's not just one person. Like it's death. Like that's
Well, and the thing about it too is they did some crazy shots to where like we're almost permanently scarred. Anytime you're driving down the road and there's like a lumber truck ahead of you, and you can just put yourself in a final destination moment where like the bolt loosens and the tree
oh
trunk.
yeah,
yeah. I remember that one, dude. Yeah.
yeah. Roller coaster was one of them. I mean, that's those things that people you thought about it anyway, and now it's a thing.
Was that Devin Sawa in the first one? Shout out Idle Hands. I believe it was.
It was, man. Yeah, I think Stifler was in that one too, man.
Yeah, it played like a nerd, kind of. Play like against type, if I remember correctly. So
Yeah, it's been a while.
shout out Final Destination. It's been a minute, but
Yeah.
yeah, now's as good a time as any to go back and check them all out.
Yeah.
It is that time of the episode where we fulfill our legal requirement to reference Archer. We do that by offering you our sterling suggestions. We're each going to recommend something for you to check out. Mills, you're up first. What do you got for us this time?
I'm going to say go ahead and check out things by Tony Gilroy. Most notably, you have Michael Clayton starring George Clooney, which he wrote and directed. It's on Prime Video now. It's leaving soon. I was inspired to watch it because I think it's a great flick. I've always enjoyed it. Holds up really well, kind of nice, tight. It kind of like quasi-political corporate thriller, a very, very solid, well-written, again, leaving Prime soon. He is the creative force behind Andor, which I talked about already. Love all of that very much. But you might not know Tony Gilroy. He's been around for like ever. Like he wrote Dolores Claiborne, The Devil's Advocate, helped on Armageddon, wrote all the Bourne movies. He actually wrote and directed the one with Jeremy Renner, The Bourne Legacy. Yeah, again, Rogue One, very good. Most recently, The Great Wall and Beirut. But like, if you want to get into Tony Gilroy again, go ahead. You can check out the Bourne movies for stuff that he's written. But Michael Clayton, absolutely excellent, as is Andor, currently available on Disney Plus. So that is my sterling suggestion: films, TV shows by Tony Gilroy. Jamie G, what is your sterling suggestion for this episode?
Yeah, man. Well, I talked about it a little bit about when we were filling our holes, but we mentioned Fish's spring tour here. I gotta say, dude, the Frisco show, San Francisco Night 2 took place on April 23rd, 2025. This thing is a masterpiece. I mean, it is absolutely incredible. I mean, just both sets and the encore. Go through and listen to this for anybody who's into this kind of thing. It is one of the better shows of recent memory. You get a simple opener into the transition from simple into Punch in the Eye. I am always hunting Punch in the Eye. It's been over a year since I've caught that live, almost two actually. So definitely that's awesome when they bust that out. But I mean, this first set is just basically perfection, dude. Simple, Punch in the Eye, into Gumbo, into Reba. Then they go with The Well, which is one of their newer tunes, which is awesome. And that into David Bowie. And then they finish with Character Zero. Just incredible. Set two, you get like a 30-minute tweezer jam in there. Great encore with Velvet Sea and First Tube. This is just, you get a big ass yem to close set two. So just an outstanding. I mean, this thing is a work of art, dude. Like I wouldn't be going this hard on it. They're all great shows, but San Francisco Night 2, depending on what they do tonight, I think it's the show of the run, and it's outstanding. Go and listen to it. Check it out over on livefish.com.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking about earlier. There's one that stood out of so far on that tour, and that's the one, man. A lot of oldies in there. It was, yeah, awesome. Good call, dude.
Nice. Super. What do you got for us in terms of suggestions?
I'm gonna go a little bit weird on this one. I hope you guys enjoy it. And I can almost guarantee that neither one of you have seen this movie, man. But I hope maybe you think about checking it out. It's a movie called Bubba Hotep.
Oh, I don't
Bubba
know.
Hotep has got. Have you seen it?
Yeah, the one with like the dudes who think they're Elvis or whatever in
Yeah,
the funeral.
It's Bruce
For their
Campbell,
old.
and he may or may not be Elvis, and then there's another guy in the home that he's in that thinks he's JFK. He may or may not be JFK. The story is actually it's pretty cheesy when it comes down to it, but some of the intricacies of it are very very cool. It's entertaining. It's hilarious. It's if you like Bruce Campbell, if you like weird, almost kind of random horror. It's not. I wouldn't really call it horror, even though it classifies as that. It's got a little bit of that kind of element to it, but it's more of just a weird comedy, you know. So anyway, it's a fun watch, man, and I'm gonna recommend that as my sterling one. If you're looking for something off the wall, go with Bubba Hotep, man.
That's great. I've not seen that in probably like 20-ish years. It's been a minute.
Yeah,
Bubba
it's
Ho
a bit
what?
older. Bubba
What is
Bubba
it?
Hotep,
Hotep.
Hotap.
Tap.
Hotep, Hotep. It means an Egyptian pharaoh or something, and Bubba is a
Yeah, I
redneck.
remember like he had like Emotep in the first Mummy movie, so yeah, it's tangential to that.
And if you like Bruce Campbell, if you ever
Yeah,
see
and pretty much yes, Bruce Campbell,
Darkness
sign me
or
up pretty
Evil
much. Yeah,
Dead, yeah, go for it, man.
Yeah.
yeah. I watched like 8 seasons of Bird Notice or whatever for Bruce Campbell. So
Yeah, good call, man. I'm looking forward to checking that out. It is time where we need to connect us dudes to the dude with 6 Degrees of Lebowski. Mills, what's the easiest way to get from Christian Slater in Gleaming the Cube to the dude?
it's that easy. In Gleaming the Cube, Christian Slater played Brian Kelly. In Tucker, The Man in His Dream, Christian Slater played Junior, and Jeff Bridges played Preston Tucker. And Jeff Bridges is the dude. Again, you said easy.
All right. Well, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't remember that one at all. How about finding a fun way to get from Stephen Bauer to the dude without using Breaking Bad or Better Call Saul? Good luck with this one.
Well, thankfully, you didn't say anything about one of our Canadian lady friends. In Gleaming the Cube, Stephen Bauer played El Lucero. In Snapdragon, Stephen Bauer played Dr. David Hoogstraten, and Pamela Anderson played Felicity. In Scary Movie 3, Pamela Anderson played Becca, and Leslie Nielsen played President Harris. In Airplane, Leslie Nielsen played Dr. Rummick, and Lloyd Bridges played Steve McCroskey. In Blown Away, Lloyd Bridges played Max O'Bannon, and Jeff Bridges played Jimmy Dove. And Jeff Bridges is the dude.
It's a dude.
Man, dude, shout out to the late, great Lloyd Bridges, man. It is never a good week to stop sniffing glue. Also, shout out to Blown Away. That's a 90s flick I haven't thought about in a hot minute.
Yeah, and also you didn't let me do it, but yeah, shout out to Stephen Bauer as Don Eladio in Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. If you have not seen those, start with Better Call Saul, work your way through. You are very, very welcome. Just make sure you do work your way through them ASAP and never, ever, ever be a dick like somebody who moves a cone.
They moved the cone? What kind of asshole moves a cone?
I mean, who moves a cone? God. Get your popcorn ready because it's time for our featured review.
This is Gleaming the Cube, directed by Graham Clifford, written by Michael Tolkien, produced by Lawrence Turman and David Foster. The cinematographer was Reed Smoot, edited by John Wright, with music by Jay Ferguson. Originally released January 13th, 1989. On a budget of $10 million, it only returned $2.77 million worldwide at the box office. Starring Christian Slater, Stephen Bauer, Richard Hurd, Lee Twan, Min Long, Art Chadabala, and Ed Lauder. The short plot synopsis is a teenage skateboarder forces his way into the investigation into his adopted brother's mysterious death that was ruled a suicide. In doing so, he helps uncover a major military conspiracy. Despite the danger, he and his crew will stop at nothing until those responsible are brought to justice. Soup, we're going to be gleaming the cube. We are also going to be gleaming these spoilers. Give us a warning.
Yeah, we're going to be spoiling the cube, man. So from this point on, this is a full-on spoiler discussion of Gleaming the Cube, man. There's a good chance this movie's probably older than you are, so you've got plenty of time to check this out. If you haven't, then do it right now, man, and get back to us because it's a good watch. And you know, here you are. You've been warned, man. So no excuses. From this point on, spoilers. Gleaming the Cube.
Yeah, we might just try to spoil everything Slater in the universe.
Other Slater movies might be at play, but yeah.
Yeah, well, we'll try. We'll warn you if we're gonna do a big old twistola. Like, no one's gonna ruin the end of True Romance for you or anything like that. Let's kick it off with our overall thoughts on this one. I will go first, and I will admit that this is not a flick that I had a lot of familiarity with. I know I had seen parts of it. I definitely remembered the scene with the Pizza Hut truck. I remembered a little bit of the skateboarding stuff, so I know I had seen parts of it, but it wasn't one that was on my regular rotation when I was a youth. I think I did watch this a few years ago, maybe 10 years, 5, 10 years ago, something like that, kind of randomly when I was going and doing the Slater thing. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a fine, solid flick. It was fun. Nothing against it. It's probably not one that I would go out of my way to rewatch, but if it was on, I'm certainly not turning it off. But I don't necessarily have a lot of nostalgia built up into it through my youth. It's just one I think it's solid. It's definitely nice to have a good skateboarding flick. Solid performance by Christian Slater. It's fun to see Stephen Bauer here again. Now I'm remembering him as Don Eladio now from Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul primarily, so kind of cool to see him here. Jamie G, let's go to you before we get to Soup, because this was his baby. Kind of overall thoughts here on Gleaming the Cube. What did you think? Did you see this one as a youth? Kind of your overall deal here with the flick.
Yeah, I definitely remember this as a kid growing up, watched it several times throughout the years or whatever. Just as a big Slater fan, I remember him just being so freaking cool. Like he was in everything in this era. Basically anything from like 88 to 95, 96. He's super awesome, dude. Like the coolest person on the planet. That's just how cool he is. Enjoyed this one. I thought there was some, rewatching it, some of the stunts and stuff were actually really cool. There's a couple of really great chase scenes and like skateboarding stuff. Skateboarding was always super hard for me and something I never really was good at. So it was cool to see this. I thought that the plot actually was better than I remembered. And so I enjoyed it. I definitely think that it held up. There's nothing in here that's like crazy looking back on it. Enjoyed it as a kid. It was not my favorite Christian Slater movie. Definitely enjoyed Heathers and Pump Up the Volume a lot more, but this was definitely a good one for him. And he's not quite like as dark as he can be in this. You just get a little snippet of it, and then you get like the good side of him. So good stuff, man. I mean, I definitely enjoyed the flick.
Good job pointing out how good some of the chase scenes, some of the skateboarding stuff, some of the technical stuff is. Absolutely enjoyed it. The final, call it sequence, an entire chase, whatever, is just absolutely phenomenal. Soup, we know you like this one. This was your baby. Kind of tell us, what you enjoyed about it as a youth, and then how you obviously still enjoy it as a bit of a more a grown lad here, but how it holds up just, with the nostalgia, and then even being able to kind of look at it outside of it, because I think it still stands up on its own. But certainly, if you have it, it's coming from a strong place in your heart as a youth. I can absolutely understand. I could fall in love with this flick as a kid.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, for one, Slater's cool as fuck. That being said, we all know that already, but yeah, as a youth, I definitely enjoyed this movie a lot. I liked skating. I was never like that good at it, but I did like it. I like that style of things, and I like this movie a lot. Not only was I a Slater fan anyway, but this is one of those movies that kind of propelled me into liking him a lot more, because this is an earlier one for him. I think maybe Legend of Billie Jean was before this. It might, and I know he had like a couple other when he was younger, but this was probably his breakthrough movie, and then right there was Heather's. I think they either the same year or right next to each other. And from there he just, he flourished a little bit more. But this was a signature movie, at least from what I remember, about, hey, here's Christian Slater, man, and it was very cool. And the skating was badass in this. I mean, the storyline is okay, it's an 80s flick, and it's not like a blockbuster, but there is enough action, and it's not bad. It's not super cheesy. There's a little bit of cheese, but not enough to, not even enough to really double cheese the pizza with. So it's right there. It's comfortable. It's good, and it flows well. Now I'm talking about on the rewatch here. Like when I was a kid, it didn't really matter because I just like the cool stuff about it. But yeah, I mean, the movie moves well. it's got a lot of good action in it, believe it or not. You wouldn't think so going into it, but some of the stunts and stuff are kind of incredible. And Christian Slater learned how to skate for this movie. Now he does have a double for a lot of the really intricate shit, and that's one part that I could point out in a couple of scenes where you could tell it's not him, kind of, but other than that, man, like he did a phenomenal job in this movie, man, and really embraced the role. And I thought it fit him very well, and he played it very well. And you know, it's just a very entertaining movie if you're into that kind of thing. A little crime drama, kind of bit of a action flick, and a lot of skating, a lot of cool stuff in there, a lot of cool elements. Yeah, I mean, you got professional skaters in this thing. You got Tony Hawk, Mike McGill. The whole crew is just cool, like the way they do it. And I mean, it's the kids out skating, man. And it's a good element of camaraderie that you can see, especially as the movie progresses. It's not just a bunch of punks hanging out. Like, at the beginning, it's fun because they get the whole airplane ride. I'm sure we'll talk about that, and that's kind of your introduction to what they're all about. And then you get to the end of the movie, and it's like, man, you're calling up a dude at 9 in the morning, waking him up, and he's got the whole crew on the way to come help you out. So yeah, I love that kind of loyalty aspect of things too. But there's a lot to this movie, a lot to unpack here. I mean, it seems like a simple one, but there's really a lot of undertones and layers here. So let's dive into it, man.
You're saying that it's possibly more complex than that. I think that's what you're saying here. And you have both kind of mentioned it. Just touch on kind of where we're at as far as skateboarding. I was never a big skateboarder. I hung out with some skateboarders. I could kind of get on a board and pedal around basically, and that's about more or less what I could do. I was much more into snowboarding, so have used the board somewhat. I have a familiarity with skateboarding. Watched a lot of the X Games, that kind of stuff back in the day, especially. So pretty up on skateboarding. I don't know necessarily all the names of all the tricks and everything, but enough to recognize a lot of the names of the flick. I'd obviously played the Tony Hawk Pro Skater, that kind of thing. Supa, where are you at kind of just overall on skateboarding?
I like skating, man. I'm a little bit older now to where I can't really do it. I haven't skated I mean, I can do it still. I'm more of a longboarder. I was always better at just kind of cruising. I was good enough to skate, but not like to do crazy shit. But I love skating. I love everything about it. It's one of those things I wish I would have practiced more as a younger person, and just kind of didn't. And now it's kind of one of those things that is a younger sport. So if I were to try and do some of that shit now, I feel like I wouldn't be able to. Can I jump back on a longboard and cruise around? Absolutely. I mean, this movie made me miss it because I used to skate, I mean, 5, 8 years ago or something, I used to skate a lot on a longboard. So maybe I'll buy another one and get back into it for cruising around town here and there.
Just make sure you're up on your health insurance first, and I think otherwise I go ahead and go for that. How about yourself, Jamie G? Have you set foot on a skateboard recently? Check out a lot of skateboard flicks, or you watch competitions, anything like that?
I've always enjoyed skateboarding. I think it's fun and courageous and takes a lot of stones and a lot of skill set. I was never good at skating. Like I just didn't have the patience for it at all. It's way harder than it's like surfing, dude. It's super hard to even get on the board. And I was kind of just like I just didn't have the patience. I'd rather go pick up a football, basketball, or baseball and go play sports or ride bikes or something. So I'd never really learned how to skate. Always had an appreciation for it. Enjoy watching dudes skate or whatever, but like I'm not like a skater kid. I was never one of those guys. So I definitely respect it though because it's hard to do.
How about Slater overall? I'm definitely a Slater fan, but I don't know if I'm like a mega fan. I don't know if he's in like my top 10 actors. I think he's definitely securely in my top, somewhere between 15 and 25, but I don't know if he's quite on my Mount Rushmore here. Jamie G, where you at on Slater, man? You like a huge fan? You just kind of a fan? Obviously we all enjoy him, but what's kind of your level of fandom when it comes to Slater?
I'm pretty high on Slater, dude. Like I pretty much I can't really think of anything he's done that I don't like. Even like when he was even in Archer when he just is a voice, dude. I mean, I'm still like there for it. He's just got that voice. I thought in his late 40s, early 50s to come out and play the role of Mr. Robot was unbelievable. He kind of makes that show in a lot of ways, and no disrespect to any of the other actors or actresses because they're all awesome. The writing was phenomenal, but he's a big reason why I think that show works. His earlier stuff to me is just legendary. Like I said, Heather's Pump Up the Volume, those things are great. He just even like even this, but then even like his role in Young Guns, and and we talked about it a little bit earlier with Robin Hood and stuff. I mean, he just has that look, has that feel, has the technical skill, but he's so freaking awesome. Cuffs. Not only can he do this crazy drama, he can do comedy, dude, like in his own way. I don't know where that ranks. He's probably in my top 10. He's certainly in my top 20.
How about you, Soup? Where is Slater kind of on your Mount Rushmore of actors, entertainers?
Well, here's the thing with Christian Slater, man, is I've always kind of looked up to Christian Slater as a dude that I would want to hang out with. I always thought he was super fucking cool, and he is super fucking cool. That was back when, we were younger, like around this time or whatever. And you couldn't really get much cooler than that, man. At least, and maybe Axl Rose was cool back then, and he fell apart. So anyway, but things like he's one of those people that's like, man, he's just on that other level of cool. Now, as far as an actor goes, he's not exactly like versatile. He's not like Johnny Depp or Val Kilmer, where he can play all kinds of different, or Gary Oldman, where he can just like transform themselves into different people. But when you get him, you know what you're getting, and what you're getting is good. And Christian Slater is going to be Christian Slater, and he just has that charisma, that personality, just everything about him, just his vibe. I mean, and his voice, especially. I mean, like he's just got something that nobody else does, and I've always appreciated that and kind of admired that about him. So that's why I'm a huge fan of his.
Yeah, I think some people were a little disappointed. There was a lot of hype on him when he was young. He was going to be like the next, like Jack Nicholson, kind of. I think he gets compared to a lot, just kind of
Because of
maybe,
the voice, yeah.
yeah, and the mannerisms a little bit, maybe some of the early roles,
Yeah,
but yeah. But he's very personable, and I think he's one of those dudes. If you hire him, obviously he's got some range, but you have to let him kind of do his thing, and that's kind of where it's going to be the most
That's what it should be
successful.
I think I don't know if I'd want him to try and be like,
Right, and Mr. Robot leads into that with kind of like his smarminess, like it being a little bit of a smart ass kind of, but also
well, he always has
being one
been
of the
like,
smarter guys in the room, kind of.
yeah, like how Jamie G was talking about with Cuffs, where Cuffs is more of a comedy, but that's kind of how he is, just has that sarcastic, his little quick quips and one-liners are just classic Slater, and you're thinking about back in like, this era of early 90s, late 80s and stuff, and there's child stars, I mean, you're talking about sizing up against like the Coreys, the Feldman and Ham, and like John Cusack, and I feel like Slater was probably one of the biggest winners there. Now Cusack made a very good. He's still out there doing big things too. I've always been a fan of his too. But a lot of these child stars kind of fell off, or got into trouble or whatever. And Slater went through trouble too. But I think he's flourished and is still kind of like hanging in there. And I love that he's still around doing things, man. So I'll always support him.
Yeah, I feel like he is undergoing a little bit of a late career renaissance as well. Definitely kind of post Mr. Robot here. You mentioned it. A lot of professional skaters were in on this flick, played some of the supporting roles, did a lot of the scenes, helped Slater with his skateboarding. Notably, Tommy Guerrero, former pro, he's making like 500 a day, teaching Christian Slater how to skateboard. Mike McGill, Rodney Mullen were both the stunt doubles for Slater. Stacy Peralta was kind of the second unit director, so was responsible for filming most of the stuff. And the dude who actually does the stunt on the freeway when Brian goes under the truck, that was Mark Rogowski. So shout out Gator, very, very cool nickname for a skater. Just a cool nickname overall. I just like Gator as a nickname. Just supremely cool. And Max Pellich. Max Perlich, the dude who played Yabo, also another kind of a prolific skater, veteran skater before filming, and he did all of his own, or at least most of his stunts in the film. And like you said, Slater admitted to, he did a lot of training. He said he never could completely do a successful ollie. He didn't quite get to that level, but he also he hated the gear. So, his mom was trying to do a good job getting his helmet. Slater did not like the helmet. And, you could check in with a.
Only rocked it at the end, though. Yeah,
yeah, you got to rock it. But if you ask Dave Driscoll on the mountain, though, you know what I mean? It might make you look like a pussy, but you still need to wear the helmet.
You guys need helmets?
I'll take a helmet. While you're back there, could you slap a sticker on the side of mine that says pussy?
Yeah, I feel you, babe.
Yeah, but and don't forget Tony Hawk, man. Come on, Tony Hawk was in this thing too. I'm sure he had a big part in like, coordinating or choreographing a lot of the skating in this too, or at least he should.
Yeah, I think he actually got a little bit injured doing this at one point, so he didn't do as much at certain parts of it, but he definitely was doing it. He also had to drive the truck too, so they
Yeah.
were putting a lot on Tony Hawk's plate. And shout out Tony Hawk, that man has aged very, very well. Also seems
And he
to
had
be.
like seven. He had like seven rotary phones, dude.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, dude, that's right. It's 4 phones, I believe, but I am very curious.
I might have exaggerated a bit.
We will touch on that, but I'm curious as to where they all go. I will say that this is a very typical 80s in the intro opening credit sequence and the end credit sequence, but I enjoyed both of them a lot, really, because in the beginning, you get the solid 80s stuff, right? You get kind of the neon fixtures, the kind of little funky retro
It's
opening
almost like
credits.
skater tracks, you know.
Yeah, you get the theme song. You got to have the theme song, like a straight up Gleaming the Cube theme song, and just kind of cool skateboarding shots overall. Soup, you're our soundtrack guy. Where does this stand kind of in that pantheon of 80s soundtracks? I know the soundtrack itself does not have a deep bench, but you did get the classic theme song where it's titled same as the movie. So I know it's not a classic soundtrack. Anything you can give us here to add a little bit of depth to the Gleaming the Cube soundtrack?
Well, here's something I would like. If there's anything I could change about this movie, it would be to have a better soundtrack or a soundtrack to speak of, you know, because there really wasn't much of one, you know. I mean, there's a score, yeah, and outside of the outside of the title track, I think there's maybe one or two. I think there's one song that I can't remember the name of, like when they're in Yabo's little cave down there, man. They're skating back and forth on the thing, talking or whatever. There's that one song in the background. I can't remember what the name of it is right now, but outside of that, I don't really, you know, I mean,
The one in the car where the dude puts the cassette in, but there's not a lot.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
There's,
yeah.
and there's actually two there. One when he's getting killed, and the one when he's
Right, the
driving.
second one, yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, yeah, you're right. Okay.
Bobby Nguyen,
Yeah, the
dude.
Vietnamese. Yeah, Bobby Nguyen, dude. All right. So anyway, that being said, dude, that's why, because that's how weak the soundtrack was. I feel like this movie deserved a better soundtrack. I should have had like a Tony Hawk Pro Skater video game soundtrack at least. You know, I mean, like you play that game, you got that soundtrack stuck in your head for days because you're sitting there for hours playing that game. You know, I mean, it should have at least that kind of a soundtrack. So I feel like it deserved a better soundtrack, and that would be probably my only real complaint about this movie. You know?
Yeah, they do decent enough with the Gleaming the Cube joint, which is more of a kind of cheesy 80s track than a skater track. But
Yeah,
they
but
have
I like
a
that
pretty
from the
fertile
beginning.
environment, right? This is Southern California, like skate punk culture in the late 80s, early 90s. They have options.
Yeah, it needed that Pro Skater soundtrack, man. So, yeah, you know, whatever. If you could build a soundtrack, let's maybe come back to this. You know, give it like a week or so. Let's see if we can build a soundtrack that we think Gleaming the Cube. You know, in that era, what would be the best soundtrack? Pick like 10 to 12 songs. I challenge you guys right now.
Maybe I can. There's got to be a good skating playlist somewhere on Spotify or something like
You
that.
can't copy it. You got to come up with your own, dude. Come on.
I need some ideas, dude. I need some inspiration. Otherwise, it'll take forever because there's so much. And this is actually the one of the flicks. It's cool to check out the end credits, at least the first 3-4 minutes or so, because they do roll back the theme song one more time, and then it's basically just kind of outtakes and just showing you the more of the cast doing skating and everything like that. So that stick around just a little bit after the credits because that is very cool. Soup, you alluded to kind of fun intro to everybody, right? You do the scene where they get on the plane with the dude to scout out the various pools and then kind of shred in the pool for a minute. Nice way to meet everybody. You get to meet Lucero kind of at the tail end of it. So for the most part, does a good job of bringing the characters in. Anything you kind of want to add there? Just other than, again, it seems pretty cool, right? Like, you know, that's how cool Brian Kelly is. Like he's got a pilot, right? He can just tip him a couple bucks and find his way into a plane.
I mean, dude, he's got the hookups, man. That whole crew, like, yeah, exactly. It gives you the whole vibe right away. You know, they're not beating around the bush here. They're skating in a airplane parking lot, man. Then they get a guy, and the guy's all like, "No, I told you never again, man." He's like, you know, he talks him into it, man. And they get up there, and they're tagging the whole airplane with fucking stickers and shit, you know, just being skater kids, and it's awesome. And then, you know, you get a cool little thing like, "There's my mom's house, there's my dad's house, hey, there's my Pizza Hut, man." You know, so very cool aspect there, man. And you know, getting a bird's eye view, trying to find a pool to skate in, you know. So I like the idea of that. I always thought that was fun, you know. It's probably not legal, but hey, who cares? You know, I mean,
Yeah, I didn't feel that bad for the homeowner who was after to clean the blood out of his pool.
If you go back and listen to that homeowner though, it's so funny, dude.
Yeah, he's such a dick, dude.
Yeah, he's pissed, man.
Can they sue? Can I sue him? Can I sue him? I want to know that. Can they sue me? That's what I want to know. I want to know. Can they sue? He's so funny, dude. Like, go back and listen to him. Like, dude cracks me up.
Yeah, good shout out of that. Like that is definitely one of like I like when they have little background stuff like that. That is very fun. And then you kind of get a whole sequence here where we meet Brian's parents. We meet Vin here, his adopted stepbrother. Oh, dude, shout out his 1989 laptop. That is just kind of absolutely wild to look at. Like, yeah, people
Yes.
really use those. And it also shows, like, all right, this dude's a smart guy, so it helps kind of set up that plot there that he's going to notice the weight discrepancies here and kind of figure out what's going on. You meet Tina, you figure out that Brian is kind of like, he's smart, but he's not necessarily trying his hardest. He's pretty close to Vin. I think everything here pretty much tracks. Again, it's a little bit of an 80s trope to have some kind of Vietnam kind of a smuggling plot going on. And the other thing I like is, dude, in an 80s movie, if you are in a kitchen somewhere between breakfast and dinner, you make a sandwich. It doesn't matter what else is going on, you make a sandwich. I love that, but it's kind of, it still happens a little bit. I remember it happened on The Sopranos, but I swear to God, every 80s movie, if they're not eating breakfast or dinner and they're in the kitchen, someone is making a sandwich. Am I crazy?
Well, here, yeah, fixing sandwiches. You're right. Now I'm always gonna remember that and think about it and probably point it out every time. But yeah, I like the introduction to meeting the he gets out. I don't, and the parent. Wait, sorry, let me try that over again. He gets out of jail or getting arrested or whatever the fuck, and you can tell the parents are pissed at him, and it kind of sets the vibe or gives you the background there without even saying anything. Like, oh, he's a troublemaker kind of kid or whatever. But then the funny thing is that between him and his dad, the dad's like, you can tell their vibe right away. And he's like, a skateboard stays outside, and he's like, what are you worried about? It's not gonna shit on the rug, another great line
Yeah.
during the movie there. But then but it kind of, you can kind of tell like where the relationship between the parents and him are at that point. So they did a good job like portraying that with minimal conversation, and then into his brother Vin, the adopted brother Vin, and again without a whole lot of conversation, you can kind of tell where that goes. So they did a really good job with the dialogue, the limited dialogue that was just like important enough to let you know what's going on.
Well, and a couple things too. One, when he goes into his room, you see Vin's side of the room, and it's so clean and
You're
organized.
right, polar
And then
opposite.
Slater's like Brian, it's so messy. He's got posters all over the place, shit all over the place.
But
They can kind of get that. And another little back and forth with the dad that I thought was so funny. He's just playing the classic 80s, trying to make it as an insurance salesman thing where he's like, maybe if I had your hair and I was as cool as you, I could sell a policy a day. Maybe if I
Probably.
had your mouth, I wouldn't I'd hit my sales goals. I thought it was just great, dude.
I
Just
like the
back and
debate.
forth.
You brought it up with the they share a room, Brian
Right.
and Vin, but the divider there is the chessboard, and I think
Yes,
that's cool.
it is cool.
That says a lot, Nick, and we'll see that as we progress through the movie, the importance of chess, and not even like on purpose, this is totally what's the word? Coincidental is that I recently started replaying chess again. So yeah, not even because of this movie. That's crazy. Yeah.
Or maybe it's more complex than that. Maybe it just had
It probably
wormed its
is.
way into your brain, and the
Literally,
universe was
game over.
things tend to be that. I did actually like the kind of twist when you think his mom's going to give him shit for not wearing a helmet, and then she buys him the new gear. I thought that was kind of cool that she was being supportive of him. In a lot of typical 80s movies, the parents would be totally against it. And obviously the dad's not thrilled with it, but I like that the kind of mom is on his side. And then shout out to the quote that he gives Vin when he's talking about adults. Like this shit kind of really is like really like prescient, and it feels very accurate today.
Here's what I think. Adults are predictable.
Don't count on it.
Yeah. They're living under this illusion that life as we know it is going to continue forever. So they expect you to behave as though what you do today is going to have an effect on where you'll be in 30 years. I mean, it's ridiculous to think that there's going to be anything in 30 years. I don't know what's worse, being blown up in a nuclear war or having a 7-Eleven on every corner.
Like the idea that we're living under the illusion that life is going to continue forever, like to just kind of keep doing what you're doing. And we have seen now, especially in this time, how quickly things can change, how they can change on a dime. So I think that is a very good, notable quote. And Jamie G, and we may not have had nuclear war, but we do. And it's not 7-Eleven, but it's a Walgreens on every corner. I think we have hit a drugstore on every corner.
Yeah, we really
Sometimes
have.
at a four-way stop, you get 2 to 3 drugstores on every corner.
Yeah. Yep.
And it kind of sucks that they kill Vin off, but you kind of got to set up you got to set up the plot somewhere. I guess I kind of buy it the way that the dude gets strangled, and it sets up Bobby Wynn. Like, oh yeah, come on, I've done this to other people. I've had this done to me. Like, it's not that bad. You set up the Colonel as being somewhat sympathetic. I guess it works. You got to do something. I at least give him a little bit of credit. It's somewhat creative for an 80s movie plot, right? Like it's not terribly complex. I'm never really concerned with the actual plot mechanics, but it does what it needs to do, I guess.
Yeah, well, and they set it up a little bit too, where Brian Nguyen is kind of giving him shit as he's going to work, and you kind of see that there's some bullying, and he doesn't like him, and it comes out later where he's calling him a communist sympathizer or something, and so I think there's some jealousy with Bobby Nguyen being portrayed as kind of this tough guy, Vietnamese gangster, tough guy, and he doesn't like Vin, right? And so I thought that actually helped this scene with like the wet washcloth strangle scene. I thought that made it a lot more believable where you could see him pushing it too far because he didn't like him, and they kind of set it up earlier in the movie. So good bit of writing there, I think.
Yeah, good call. You see him at one point like extra pulling on it, right? When he doesn't really have to, like giving that little bit
When
of
when
extra effort.
Lawndale walks to answer the door.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yep.
Will you tell us something now, Kelly? Here's the thing, man. This cracks me up. No, it doesn't crack me up, but it kind of blows my mind a little bit. Is after the fact, where he's like, "Man, I've done this before. I've had it done to me before." But that was his excuse or his reply when he found out that he killed him or whatever. But if you've had it done to you before and have done it before, that's kind of. I mean, what kind of life are you living, dude? I don't know. That's weird, man.
The same way you start a lawnmower, the choke and stroke.
You got to have a spotter if you can do that.
I guess we buy it, right? Like when Brian is told about what happened, he just goes and he just shreds real hard for a minute. Cool
Yeah.
kind of skate scene. This one we see a fair amount of Slater, so I think he did a lot of this, but that leads to him showing up to the funeral, and you kind of got to wonder, like, what is this dude gonna wear to a funeral? And I'll be goddamned if that is not the perfect funeral skater attire. Jamie G, you're usually our fashion maven here. What do you think about this funeral outfit that Brian wears? He is back in black at least.
It's awesome. I mean, that would have been a great time for a needle drop. I would have loved some freaking, a needle drop, hardcore needle drop there as he strolls up. I thought it was dynamite, dude. He was so cool. The way the wind just hits and you get that silver interior of his black sports coat, dude. Absolutely awesome. And he just strolls up. He's carrying the board and everything, dude. And he just sets the chess piece on there. He was aces with his outfit. Great choice for his style, right? For his style.
Yeah, he mixed it up quite a bit throughout the flick. And Soup, anything you'd like to add on the funeral before we get kind of into his little investigation?
Yeah, but I think that was played perfect because, the parents are there and, the rest of the crowd's there and he's not, and of course, he shows up late, but, and he might have been, everybody handles shit like that differently, but judging from the character that we've seen so far during the course of the movie, man, he wasn't the kind of guy that just wouldn't show up, but I think he played it perfect by just coming in, doing his thing. Who wants to go through the whole service or whatever, man? He's not that kind of dude. His wardrobe was absolutely top notch, as you said. So I mean, what else would a guy like that wear? Like he killed it. But he wasn't there for that, and he went there. He put his chest piece on. That's exactly what he needed to do. And we'll get a later scene where he does go to the gravesite and has his moment. But that was his moment in that moment, and I think it was the perfect moment. For what it was.
And then we get him doing his little bit of an investigation here, which is fine. He wants someone to read the paper that he finds. That leads to a dude, Bobby Wynn, to figure out who he is, and he follows him. And that's probably one of my favorite early scenes. It shows how smart Brian is, the way he manages to kind of ditch him and then catch back up to him and then sneak into the car. I thought that was cool setup, and obviously it's going to lead into the kind of the big showdown there in the forest. But that was one of our first, I think, bigger skating scenes. The idea of him kind of using cars. I think he uses a bus in this one to catch up, and I thought that was really cool and just showed like he's street smart. He's able like. He's going to at least be able to hold up with these guys who, have pretty cool cars and seem kind of threatening.
Absolutely, man. I mean, that's the thing. It's like he's obviously a very smart kid. Brian's a very smart kid. And Van is, he's doing his homework for him. But I feel like he could do it himself. You know what I mean? I think he's just the way the story portrays it is that he's just some slacker kid. And then it also lets you know that he's not. There's a lot more to him than that.
And I think that the show does a great job of kind of giving some background and texture to his character, and kind of like how he was kind of a jerk. And I think he looks back and feels that remorse, which also fuels him to kind of find the answer here. But I thought one of the coolest shots is when he's ducked down on his board in that car, and the camera angle goes under the seat, and you see the gun and the knife under there, and he's like, "Oh no, this is not good." Just kind of a crazy scene, man. And then out in that, I guess that's an orange orchard. But yeah, pretty cool place for that showdown.
Right. That's another thing that kind of is. I mean, I find it a little bit hard to believe that nobody noticed him back there, but
Right.
you know,
For
Yeah,
sure.
especially when dude opens the back to put the top down or whatever, and but it was really tense. I mean, I don't really have a lot to add. They do go out of their way to make the Colonel kind of sympathetic here. You know what I mean? He just like they're trying to make him the good guy, kind of caught up and everything. You know, and make the other dude the kind of really the bad guy here. I was definitely worried before Brian when he was hiding there in the back of the car when it was all going down. But other than that, it was really just kind of moving the plot forward. It was fine. I give him credit. Like he booked out of there. I have no idea how he knew where he was and where to go, but
who knows how long it took him to get? Yeah, who knows how long it took him to get? You know, I mean, he might have been running for 3 miles or something. You know, I mean,
right.
but
Can't
yeah,
use the skateboard out there on the dirt roads though, so it's not a good area for a
exactly.
skater to be in.
There's a couple of things like that about the movie that, and he wasn't noticed back there. You know, little things like that that I can kind of let go just because of the way the movie is, and I'm not going to like really feed into it or criticize it too much. You know, but in reality, I don't know if that would really happen. You know, but.
Yeah, and that kind of sets up the whole bit where he gets a couple of scenes with Lucero because he's trying to convince him of what happened, and he's not sure. So then he finally tracks down Bobby Wynn's apartment. You have a pretty good scene with him there. Then he steals the piece of paper. He's just like calling all the stuff. And then you have the scene at the police station, and then kind of more shredding. I think it worked pretty well. You know, they're obviously kind of trying to set up the dynamic between the two, but it did get a little bit repetitive. It felt like just every time they'd have a scene, it would move the plot forward a tiny bit, and they were kind of going over the same ground. I liked it. I thought they had pretty good chemistry together, but you know, this was one part that, again, it's the middle part of the film. You're trying to solve the mystery or whatever, but it did drag a little bit here for me.
Yeah, maybe a little. I think the two of them works very well together, and it's very relatable to as you guys were talking about earlier, the movie Cuffs, where he's with the guy that almost looks like Bauer. I forget his name. Anyway, it's almost like that kind of pair up with these two, you know. So, but very well play. They play off each other pretty well, you know. And I thought that was definitely a good call, you know, as far as casting.
And such an late 80s, early 90s thing to flick somebody's ear from the back, and it hurts so bad, and it's a thing. It was a real thing that we did to each other back then.
Oh yeah, of course.
We were total jerks, but we did it. And yeah, that's such a thing. So I thought that was just kind of a nice little bit of nostalgia to kind of show, yeah, this is full on late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah, they have enough chemistry to kind of pull it off, really, which is ultimately what matters. You know, Bauer does a good enough job of being like, yeah, I don't know if I really like trust you, kid, but I think you're onto something. I'm a good cop, and you know, Brian's kind of just off doing his a little bit of I guess, a smoldering thing here. But then he's got to switch tactics, right? So he hits a dead end. So he does the whole, you know, again, very 80s, 90s thing where you do the makeover, and he goes for the full preppy look, right down to cutting his own hair. I think all that works. It makes sense. I'm not really wild that he kind of gets into, like, you know, romantic territory with his you know, adopted brother's ex. That's a little bit, you know, kind of whatever, but I get what they were going for here. But I think Slater did a really nice job acting when he does the preppy thing, because you get the idea like he is trying to do the right thing, but he is kind of putting on an act a little bit here. So I thought they balanced it really well. Soup, this is your baby here. What do you think about this part here, kind of pulling off the 80s trope of the big makeover?
Yeah, you know, obviously I hate it because he's cooler as the skater dude, but obviously he did a great job acting. You know, I mean, whatever. But as far as the storyline goes and the plot, you know, I don't think he had no intentions of like hooking up with this chick or anything. I don't think. You know, I think he was more like on his mission, and this is how we can get more answers and figure things out. So for the greater good, you know, and then he, you know, if he does end up hooking up with her, great. But I don't think that was his initial intent. It wasn't because he was trying to get with her. You know, he was trying to solve a mystery here. You know, so That was the main purpose of all this. That's why he, transformed himself, because his way into finding out more information was to get closer to her. I don't think it would happen that quickly. If like one day I cruise in and some chick's like, man, well, I can't.
Right, it's just one outfit change, one haircut, and he's in.
Then the next day I just wear different clothes and look different. And like, oh,
right,
cool.
even if the parents are like, oh yeah, like no white dudes either, and it's like one haircut. I mean, it's a very, very good haircut. But I think you are right on that. I don't think it started out that way. That he was, even if they did show maybe he was thought kind of a little bit awkward around her when she first came in the scene with Vin earlier in the flick here. And she does say that she likes him at one point, so I think it does go down that road a little bit more. But you're right. I think going in, it was just this was the only move he had, right? He needed to get info from her dad. And so even when he meets, it's kind of funny. Like he's just trying to pump the dad for information. Like, yo, I'd love to sit down and talk about all this stuff. Really, like, oh, you want to go on a date with my daughter?
Yeah, they go out on their first date, and she even says, "I mean, how'd you like if we went on a date and all I did was want to talk about your father?" So I mean, you kind of that's obviously what the mission here.
Yes, that's the mission. But I think another subtle piece of it is it was also a way for him to be closer to Vin. They really the movie does a great job of showing just how sad he is to lose his brother, how much guilt and terribleness he feels for not being a better brother to him, right? And taking the adoption thing hard and all that. Like I just think that's a way for him to remember him and be closer, and it allows him to try to find what really happened. And you know what? If he falls in love along the way, so be it. But I think that's kind of an important aspect of this too, because I mean they do go multiple times. They go out of the way to have him at the grave by himself. I mean the last scene he's at the grave with Lucero, right? So it's like it's important, dude. Like he misses Van, man. Like he loved him. So I think that's a cool way too.
Yeah, I think they do a good job of staying with it, right? They don't just pay it lip service. And a lot of fun reactions every time the first time they see Brian with the new getup. I think you get the mom first, then the dad, and then all the people at school. That's a good time. And you get, even though like his buddies are giving him shit, they do kind of check back in and legitimately want to make sure he's okay. Setting up the idea that his crew is like, really like a ride or die crew, which pays it off when Lucero calls the cops and he calls in his crews like, we all got our own guys to call, we all got our own backup, and you kind of really believe that these guys are ride or die together. Even him and Tina did have the one nice moment when he talks to her about like, skateboarding really, like what it does for him. And, just sets up the idea that he isn't like just a skate punk, right? Like he is, in fact, more complex than that.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And even that's funny. Well, it's not funny, but it is like, there's a lot of funny moments there with the transformation that he's going through, like playing the role to try and he's playing the role, man. He's taking it on, dude, trying to get the job done, and then he's sacrificing a lot of what he really is as a person to be, a different side of what he also has as a person, but playing a role to discover, or figure out a mystery, so to speak. But, the reactions from everybody else are, yeah, very hilarious. I mean, the dad drives right into the garage and like crashes into shit. The mom drops a glass or whatever the fuck. And, and all his friends, immediately they're ripping on him and shit. But ultimately, I mean, there's another scene where it comes down to it and it's like a serious, like, hey man, look, I think it's Yabo, yeah, it is, who's like, hey man, we're your friends, we're here for you, I mean, and kind of breaks it down for him. And yeah, it does show through later on in the movie, I mean, just bust in on people early in the morning and be like, hey man, fix my board, or, get everybody together and we got something, it takes commitment for that. So you got to be really close to these guys. So then another thing I really love about this movie, or in anything in life, is loyalty and camaraderie like that, so it's a big thing about this movie that I enjoy.
Yeah, and they do definitely give a couple of scenes to Brian and Tina to give the idea that, whether it's romantic or not, they do have at least some sort of relationship. They have the little fireside scene. Then he goes and steals the lighter and she kicks him out. And then she sneaks back into his room, kind of reminiscent of the way she snuck in earlier when Vin was there, and tells him that, she likes him and everything like that, but then finds a lighter and he tells her the truth. So I think well set up. Maybe you're not necessarily invested in them romantically at the end, but you feel like everyone's kind of on the same team, at least, working together, and you probably feel bad because her pops is probably gonna, not be in the best spot at the end.
Yeah, and I think deep down the Colonel was a good guy too. He just was in a position, and I don't think he meant.
Yeah, they worked hard to set that up throughout the flick. I think that he was going to be kind of like
real villain was Lawndale or whatever,
Yeah, I mean, when you have a name like that in '80s flick, you're going to be the villain.
Yeah,
Lawndale, definite villain name right there. We have reached the portion of the program. We should probably get into some of the more skateboarding specific stuff. We talked about Yabo a little bit before. He gets two pretty major scenes, I think. The first one being where Brian kind of goes down there in his little hidey hole or whatever they're calling it down there. And he's actually the one that talks about Gleaming the Cube, right? So it's his 80s flick. So someone's got to say the title of it. But he kind of sets up the idea that it's okay for Brian to be different, right? And then you start see him like he combines the personalities a little more, right? Like he can be dressed like a preppy, but also skate around a little. So I thought that was a very cool scene, and obviously a very very cool hidey hole. Like that's in his parents' backyard, right? Like I don't know how you get that, but that beats the hell out of living in your parents' basement or attic.
Yeah,
That
dude,
is so cool.
man, and he's sleeping in there. He's got a setup. That's a badass setup, dude. I think it's probably was originally designed as like a bomb shelter or something, or
That's what I'm assuming. Yeah.
but dude, having something like that, and he's got the half pipe in there and everything, man. I mean, thing's badass, dude. Like, who wouldn't want that, you know?
Coolest thing, especially a bunch of teenagers, dude. Like that, I would be living in there, dude. Like that's
I was
awesome.
living there pretty much.
Right.
He works in there too because the second time Brian comes out is to get the
Oh,
new
it's a
deck.
skate shop, dude.
And he's
Yeah,
got all the, you see all the various wheels and everything that he has mounted up there. So, I mean, not
Right.
only is, Yabo got a cool name, a cool spot, he's also like good with the work. So, he's a pretty cool dude.
Sure. Crucial, man.
And the whole crew is pretty cool, right? Like we met them for the most part, on the plane doing the pool stuff. You go back a little bit, but really it's kind of set up for the big end scene. But before we get to that, I think we talked about it a little. Brian gets a couple of skate scenes by himself, like after he hears that Vin is dead, after the scene with Lucero at the police station. But I love him going into WMS to kind of infiltrate the joint. Like we saw Vin do it, it was very boring. Brian does it, and it's so cool because the way he uses his skateboard, right? He uses it for a bunch of different stuff. When he gets in, I like to use it over the barbed wire, obviously cool. Like he hacks out the crate. The second time he does like the awesome thing where he like goes underneath the trucks, kind of riding on it. He uses it to deliver the gas bomb. So I thought not only is it a good skateboarding movie, I really enjoyed that they went out of their way to at least find other uses to kind of make the skateboard like, if he's a superhero, that's his weapon, right? That's his super sword or his shield or whatever. That's his skateboard. That's his tool. And I thought it was cool that they found other ways to utilize it besides just skateboarding.
Yeah, very innovative, man. In another thing, when Vin broke in, he immediately didn't see the motion sensor. Brian saw it and he ducked under it right away. But that's just, that has nothing to do with skateboarding. That's just, aware of your surroundings or whatever, just being better at that kind of, infiltration kind of thing, I guess. But still, the one problem I have with all that, all of it's very cool. Yeah, the one thing that doesn't add up to me is when he does use a skateboard to blow up the thing or whatever. What happens to the board? He launches the Rams hat out there, but where's the board? Did you get that back, or is that there too? Because now there's
He got it back actually, because then he shows it all busted up. Because dude can't fix it.
Okay.
So he does bring it back. But you're right. It does show the smart part because we did see like the Colonel wearing all the Ram shit. He had the Rams paraphernalia in his office.
Big fan
So it's
of-
a
big fan
nice
of
touch
LA
here.
Rams, dude.
Yeah, good touch here to bring that around to plant that. So it does come apparent that Brian does have a plan. And like Lucero sees, like he sniffs it out, right? He's like, yo, I know you did this or whatever. But Brian kind of plays it cool, and it's fine. It does everything it needs to do to kind of set it up. But I like that he kind of like, he made the choice here, right? Like he set that fire, like he's like, I'm gonna make something happen. And that's a good way to kick off the final act.
And it sets
Somebody
up
had
the
to shake their
distrust.
tree.
Well, and it sets up the distrust between Lawndale and the Colonel,
Right.
because Lawndale finds the Rams hat and knows that it's his. So I thought that was also nice touch there.
Another little note is this is back when the Rams were the Rams before they moved to St. Louis and then moved back to LA. So original Rams.
Worked back
Yeah,
then,
yeah.
it works now. There was a time when it did not, but
Right, yeah.
they are the Rams again. So very cool. And it's not quite part of the final chase sequence, but this is when Lawndale puts dudes on him. Then, and the Gemstones reference would be the Cycle Ninjas when he gets the three dudes on the bike chasing him. I thought that was a very fun scene. I really liked how they did the downhill shots. It was really building up speed, and then the way they did the curves. I thought that was very, very cool.
Hey, when he does the fucking hands down.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's why he wears the gloves, dude, in case you got to do that maneuver, man.
Yeah, that's like a backside handy or something. I forget the actual like. I need
No,
to
I thought
play
that was a
Tony
bad
Hawk
move.
more.
Backside handy. I had a different idea there, but yeah, something like that.
But cool setup is kind of like an appetizer for the big final chase sequence, I think. I
Uh,
like the part where he's kind of like shooting the shit with the dudes when he's holding onto the back of the van and everything. I thought that was well done, and again, just a nice teaser for the big finish.
Yeah, and another thing, man, is like I would call this kind of an action movie because of things like that. Like the skating and stuff is very, very well done and very well filmed, you know. I mean, it's that kind of action, you know, it's there, man, you know.
The final act is very it's very gripping. Like you really get the last 20 minutes or so here, you're really locked in, I think. It's hard to turn away.
Yeah.
It moves really well. They change up the various kinds of action. Like we go from that, and then you get the setup. You mentioned it before with Buddy Tony Hawk getting the call, and he's got 4 phones. I counted 1, 2, 3, 4 phones, and then back then that means you had 4 different lines. I couldn't figure out why. My best guess was maybe he works for like 4 different pizza joints or something like that, or 3 pizza joints and a personal line.
Man, I don't know, but he answered the wrong one first, or it took him one or two at least to get
When you're
it.
that tired, you just answer the closest one. That's what happens. I'll forgive him
Well,
that.
yeah, I mean, for me, man, yeah,
Yeah, that's what I thought the red one would be, the Pizza Hut phone.
I would definitely have it that way if that were the case, you know. But yeah, I mean, there's got to be different reasons for each phone, I would think, you know, because otherwise, why have them, you know? But
Maybe he's got different crews. Like he's got his Pizza Hut job, and he's got 3 different skate crews that he works with.
yeah,
That's
family.
about what I got. But I mean, you're balling then, dude. Back in the day, like a personal phone line like that might have been like somewhere between $20 and $40. And this isn't like 1980s kid money. That's a lot of money.
That's why I had the job with the Pizza Hut, man.
Right. It doesn't sound like it, but that would have been to maintain 4 lines like that. That would have been a couple of bucks there. So
Yeah, so you know what, man? He was probably delivering some extra anchovies on the side, man. You know,
that's the only thing that makes
on those
sense.
phone lines, dude.
But it's cool that everyone kind of gathers. Obviously, yeah, he makes the call. They all gather on the truck at the Pizza Hut, and then you kind of set out the final chase sequence here, which is just pretty fantastic because you get a little bit of everything, right? Like Brian starts out with Lucera in the car, and then he is out doing his own thing. Lucera's got to catch up, and then the guys come up in the Pizza Hut truck, and that moment is just awesome, right? When they kind of come over the hill, the shot of the
Yeah.
truck and everything. That is, I don't want to say, like iconic, but that is very epic. And, again, this is 1989. So, one of the last kind of great shots of these kind of like, just the very 80s movies.
Yeah, and I forget who the actor is on here. I recognize him from something else, but he's definitely like, a Knight Rider kind of guy. And he's got the Corvette, and he's leather jacket.
Oh, I love that part. The Corvette is great.
He's like convincing the dude to go, hey man, go get that guy, whoever did.
Right, he's not really a cop, dude. Like, you got to go get him. Your insurance isn't going to cover this.
So dude's like, all right, cool, goes for it. And
Like
then
3 different times he punches it too. He's like, "Come on now, what are you doing? Come on now."
Well,
He
he's in
says,
an
"All right."
interview or whatever. He's like, still with you. And dude's like, okay with it. Like, all right, cool, man. Let's boogie, dude. You want to feel some G-force, dude? Let's go, man. I got a vet, man.
The only thing that would have been more 80s if the dude would have done a bunch of coke, like right after a little bump of coke, right after he, hit the
They
in the
might
fifth
have
gear or
cut that
whatever.
out to keep the PG-13.
Right, that's what I would think because I'm pretty sure that dude, given the way he was driving, probably on the cocaine. Lucero gets a couple of cool kind of driving moments, but obviously I think one of the most iconic joints is when Brian goes under the truck, right? When he goes under the semi, under the tractor trailer. That is just awesome, and they did that practically, so you can kind of tell just very, very cool. I'd see that in cartoons really, but that was not nothing like I've really seen in live action like that before, really.
Yeah, I don't even know how crazy. I don't even know if that would be. Yeah, it has to be possible, but damn, you're going at high speed, kind of, man, and this way and then that way.
One mess up.
Right, you have to be going slightly faster than the truck is
Yeah.
going to actually, or at least match speed at bare minimum, because
I
if
mean,
you're
there's
giving it up,
zero room for error, man. I mean, if you fuck that up, you're done. It's probably game over, dude. So
Oh,
You're gonna get run
100%.
over by a semi. Like,
Even
the
the-
best case scenario, I guess, would be you get past the first tire and then are so slow to the second tire that it just passes you. So you don't hit the
they
second
nailed
tire,
it
but that's
good. And even the truck, it was cool because it gave you the scene of the truck driver like shit, you know.
yeah, we've seen that. I think people like slide their motorcycles on the side, right, to go under a truck like that. I feel
Well,
like we've seen that
we've
shot
seen Clark
before.
Griswold get stuck under the truck, but this is way cooler.
And I believe that Brian Kelly could get lower than Clark Griswold's station wagon too.
Sure.
And dude,
Or
you can
style.
play chicken. We see it in the Back to the Future movies. They're skateboarding there's some playing of the chicken. Dude, you do not play chicken with a Pizza Hut pickup truck delivery
No,
vehicle,
you
right?
don't.
Like
Now with the
you don't
gangster.
mess with the Hut truck.
That's right, man.
I'm surprised how fast that Pizza the Hut truck is, dude. It's got some get up to it. I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, man. I just love it that all the and all the kids jump out of it and just start. It's a good scene, coming over the hill and the honk the horn, bam, 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 or whatever it is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
the
the kind of like, makes you feel like you're back in the teen movie, kind of like something like kind of like Warriors or Goonies or something of that vibe.
Yeah,
And it's
yeah.
cool though. I enjoy it. I mean, some of the shit's a little bit far-fetched, like when Brian does the thing where he goes through the window before the colonel gets shot. Like it's cool, but he doesn't really do anything. Same kind of thing at the end when he launches to get Ladmore to knock the gun out of his hand. Like I don't know if I buy like he could have really made that angle, but it is super cool, so I just let it slide.
Yeah, I mean, right. Little extreme, but hey, man, I mean, he made that move under the truck, dude. You could probably pull that off. That's a hell of an ollie, though.
Yeah, no, because he was kind of up on the wall to like then get like it. There's a reason they cut that the way they did, and going through that big glass window too is crazy. Like that's
I think I mean, you say it didn't do anything, but it definitely disrupted what was going on.
right.
So
Yeah, the colonel got shot, so no one really won on that. Like he didn't like knock the dude down or get the knock the gun out of his hand or which was realistic. Like when you hit that glass, like you're gonna stop. Like it's gonna slow down your momentum a lot. You're not gonna keep
oh
going.
yeah,
But
absolutely. I mean, most likely you're probably going to get shredded up a little bit too. I'm surprised you didn't, but
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and just shouted out the drivers, great reaction shots all around because like the Corvette driver, Lucero O'Brien, they all have to kind of react to all the crazy shit they're seeing, and there's a couple of good ones like where they kind of realize like, oh, dude behind me, or dude doing this or whatever. So just
Especially the truck driver, like I said before, I think he said that's all he says. Shit, I think that was it.
yeah,
But
really well executed chase sequence, like very very underrated. Like this is technically very good. It's entertaining. It's scored well. This movie isn't really, I think, marketed as something that would have a chase sequence like this, but this is right up there with a very solid, like, tentpole final act car chase. This is really good.
yeah, absolutely, and I mean, I agree too. I think this movie is kind of like, I don't want to say under the radar or forgotten, but it somehow slipped between the cracks somewhere to where it doesn't really get the recognition. Now, people that know the movie or grew up when we did and were into it, or anybody who's skateboarded and knows this movie, or was into it. But aside from that, as far as mainstream goes, it kind of, like I said, I think it got lost in the cracks somewhere. So I'm glad we were able to do this.
Yeah, it's fun. There's nothing wrong with it. I think outside of the skateboarding stuff, I think it's a flick that it does mostly everything it does pretty well, but it's not like the best anything. You know what I mean? It's not like the funniest or the craziest plot or the deepest cast or whatever. It's just solid all the way through and through. It doesn't do anything wrong, but I think outside the skateboarding, I think is elite. It's a great skateboarding movie. I love all the camaraderie. I like the way it's shot. I think it excels in that. I think everywhere else it's like slightly above average. Nothing wrong with that, but it certainly should have made more than $3 million at the box office.
Yeah.
Like totally worth it. It's out there on Prime. You're already paying for the subscription. Like just a fun one to check out. You can watch it as a parent with your kids even. Like this is pretty much an all ager, just about. I would say maybe like 12. Just but you don't have to worry about a lot of cursing or anything like that. You can watch it with anybody you want.
Nah, I mean, obviously, I would have liked if there were a little bit more of that, but this movie doesn't really need it. I mean,
Right? No, it's but it's still fine if you want to show it to a bunch of dudes after watching football on a Sunday. A bunch of 40-year-old dudes like throw on Gleaming the Cube. It would still be fun for that audience too.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
I agree.
I think for people of our age group that were around this age or maybe a little bit younger when this movie came out, like. For me, I like going back in time through movies and stuff like that. So I think it'd be a good, if people our age haven't seen it or whatever, it would be a good look for them or a good view for them as well.
And my guess is if it's held up this well to this point, it will continue to hold up pretty well. Especially if you enjoy the 80s, aesthetic of it all.
Yeah,
It'll
for
look
sure.
just as good in 2035 probably. So will Christian Slater probably and Tony Hawk. Tony Hawk probably look younger.
Yeah,
He's got that secret sauce. Maybe it's just the video game money. We'll have to see. Let's kind of soft open the award tour here with a little dream team. This is a segment where we just like to have a little fun, try to transport the characters, the actors, the concepts into different flicks or into this flick, whatever way we want to go. Let's just say, to have a little fun, you could take Christian Slater as Brian Kelly, put him in another flick. I think obviously if you're going to go with one that already had some skateboarding, adding him to one of the first two Back to the Future movies in some way as a skateboarder to compete with or team up with Marty McFly, maybe both, I think would be super cool. If you want to go another way to work him into an Arnold flick, what if you just got rid of Danny Madigan in Last Action Hero and instead made it Brian Kelly? Like he's just in there with Arnold instead the whole time, but he skateboards a little bit and helps out Jack Slater. I think that could be super cool. And if you want to go with a smaller part, I could see when you were doing a Billy Madison, when he has to go back to high school at some point, him having have like a rivalry with Brian Kelly, I think would be just a fun little bit. Probably wouldn't be a ton of screen time, but I think it'd be really funny to have Billy Madison and Brian Kelly on the screen together. Jamie G, you got any kind of situation scenarios here where you would like to import Brian Kelly or export Brian Kelly?
Absolutely. I'd love to see Brian Kelly with Bruce Willis in a sequel to The Last Boy Scout. And in this one, it's Brian Kelly who's the last Boy Scout. The torch was passed. You guys know that I would literally love to live in a world where we do right here on Regular Dudes Watch Stuff, Big Trouble in Little China. So I'm going to throw Brian Kelly with Jack Burton, Kurt Russell
Nice.
in a sequel to Big Trouble in Little China. We'll call it Big Trouble in Bangkok. He had to go to Bangkok to get even somebody kidnapped Tina or something, but I would love that one.
Only note is I would retitle it Big Trouble 2 Bangkok. Only note. Otherwise, pretty fantastic. Soup, how about yourself, man? Any movies you'd like to import Brian Kelly into or import someone into Gleaming the Cube with him?
You know what? I'm gonna go ahead and start here with not so much a movie, but maybe a show. Let's put Brian Kelly as a side character on Always Sunny. Just randomly shows up like Cricket, except Brian Kelly instead. Doing Brian Kelly crazy shit. I think that would fit in pretty well.
Oh, yeah, it could be either a street urchin with cricket or an under the bridge type of person with that Frank knows. A lot of ways you could go with that.
Yeah, I'm not saying a vagrant or anything, being him, but I think he'd be a good character, a good side character on a show like that. So I
Yeah,
mean,
or someone they went to high school with. You could definitely work him in there. Dude, what if you were going to make him like a number two? How about Demolition Man? Like we don't know who Edgar Friendly's number two was. What if it was just Brian Kelly's like a skateboarding number two, kind of badass in the working in the sewers and everything like that. We've seen Michelangelo the Ninja Turtles. They skateboard in the sewers. It's possible.
yeah, absolutely. I love that, man. I'd be behind that one.
And if I had to just broad pitch it, what if they, somehow, some way, you're going to make another Lethal Weapon movie, and it turns out that Brian Kelly witnesses the murder of Leo Getz, so Riggs and Murtaugh got to come out of retirement to, protect him, and then, just various nonsense ensues. I think that could be a lot of fun.
I like that a lot, man. The only thing I would change about it, instead of Leo Getz getting murdered, I think it's got to be Murtaugh. Because he was getting too
Oh,
old. Anyway,
no, kill Riggs then, dude. Kill
then
Riggs.
he
You
still
can't.
then he still got Leo and Brian Kelly, and those two are going to be great fucking.
Dude, Joe
friends.
Pesci's like
And
87.
he's
It's
got
going to be
Riggs.
really
Yeah.
tough.
Yeah. Well,
No, I like your notes though. I think those are pretty good notes. Obviously, we see the Pizza Hut truck here. There's not as many like corporate vehicles as I thought, but more or less, I just wanted an excuse to say like, dude, wouldn't it be cool to get the Oscar Mayer Wienermobile in some kind of like skateboard chase like this? I can't really think. I know there are kind of like floats or you have like the car from Dumb and Dumber. Like you can find kind of other cars like that, but there's not many that are kind of like iconic like this Pizza Hut truck or obviously the Oscar Mayer Wienermobile. I just want to say, Oscar Mayer, just go ahead, get the Wienermobile involved in more movies.
dude,
Yeah.
the delivery dudes don't even drive those things anymore, man. It's bullshit. Domino's has their own cars, I think. Well, no, they have like the stickers and shit they put on them.
I have pizza place by me, like a local joint that's not even that big that has like three the actual like branded delivery vehicles. The Domino's, some people do have the toppers though, like the big magnet on
Right.
top that you can kind of see. They're somewhat around, but not always.
I know we're here to talk about Gleaming the Cube and not eating the pizza, but because of the Pizza Hut and because of this movie tonight, I decided to order pizza, not from Pizza Hut, because I don't really, if I can avoid it, I don't do fabricated fake foods like that. So a real pizza joint in town, I went ahead and ordered pizza from, man. It's been a while since I ordered a pizza. So I'm waiting on the pizza dude, man. They tell me 45 minutes, and I'm cool with that because I know it's the season right now and things are busy. Took like an hour and a half, so I was pissed, and now I'm running late for the show. Not only that, but man, like and this is a good place. Like I like this joint, man, but I got the wrong pizza, man. They put black olives all over this fucking thing, and I hate black olives
Ooh.
on a pizza, dude. It's like, whatever. I'm not going to call and complain. I just take them off, but I can still tell they were there. So disappointed. I also got a Stromboli, which I haven't tapped into yet because I was in a race to get onto this thing. So after the show, I'll let you know if the Stromboli was any good. But yeah, I'm sitting around waiting for the pizza dude, thinking, hey, man, pizza dude, Tony Hawk delivering the Pizza Hut truck. I didn't expect him to roll up, but you never know. Anyway, so yeah, disappointed in the pizza, but I still got the pizza for the cause. So here
Guys, I'm glad you got the pizza. Guys, did Spaceballs really mess up by not having Pizza the Hut have the spaceship be the Pizza Hut truck?
Like as a spaceship, right? Like you just make
As
like
a
they did the
spaceship.
RV, right? You put some wheels, like some
Yes.
wings on it, and
yeah,
Yes.
I think you're right.
yeah.
I think they missed that,
They
man. I
missed a
think they
huge
missed
one there,
that.
dude. Yeah, definitely missed a huge one there.
They missed one.
Yeah, I
man.
mean, Pizza Hut should just generally embrace Pizza the Hut, and I have nostalgia for that era of Pizza Hut. Like that was back in like the Book It days, and maybe it's just because
Oh,
I
yeah.
was young or whatever. But now Pizza Hut not great, but back then, man, it was pretty awesome. I thought, anyways.
Dude,
At
I'll
least
take
younger me
if
thought
I'm
it
going to
was.
do Pizza Hut over, like I'll definitely take Pizza Hut over Domino's. But and I know I wasn't trying to trash Pizza Hut, but it is.
Pizza Hut's changed a lot, though.
I don't
Pizza
really
Hut,
like. I don't like change. Like if I can get the place down the road that isn't like one of those, I'm all about that.
dude, I hate corporate pizza,
They're
but
not really cooking. All they do is putting things on a thing and put it in the oven.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody's
Pizza Hut
cooking.
in the Pizza Hut in the 80s is not Pizza Hut today.
Well, they used to have
It's a
the
different thing.
buffet, and yeah, you go in there, you
Oh
sit
yeah,
down.
dude, the buffet was where it was at. The Pizza Hut lunch buffet was God mode. For like $6, you could just gorge yourself forever.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Yeah,
And they'd
Pizza
like
Hut
let
was
you take
basically-
home like they'd let you take home like 2 slices and 4 breadsticks or something like that too. So that was kind of the deal of all deals. I guess if you had to combine it, Ghostbusters, they have Ecto One, right? They got their Ghostbusters mobile, and you put Brian Thomas in there, or Brian Kelly in there skateboarding. So maybe that's a little bit of a combo. Jamie G,
Dude,
you
I
have
like him
anything?
as a Ghostbuster, man. Fuck yeah.
Anything else vehicle oriented or anything like that, or anything else you want to throw into the dream team here?
I would just say one more with the Pizza Hut truck. Like I would love to convert it, and like that's what wins in Cool Runnings. Like hey, we got a bobsled team, dude, but now it's a Pizza Hut thing. I think that would have been great, man.
So Pizza Hut sled, kind of
yes, dude,
big red sled
with the top, with the roof.
with the hut, yeah, with the hut.
With the
See,
hut.
now
You gotta
they're
have-
going to
gotta
build
have
all
huts.
those buildings. Like they had an iconic building. Like when you
Yes.
look at something, you can say that used to be a Pizza Hut. You know how much
Yeah.
that's worth intrinsically that they forfeited by going away from that?
No, you never see that anymore. They're just a little. It's usually in a strip
They're
mall.
banks, they're other things now, but like you could tell that used to be a Pizza Hut. But it was like people spend millions of dollars to get that kind of recognition to that shape. Like people recognize like that's a Pizza Hut from far away. Like they did such a good job, and then they pissed it all away for nothing. So
Like the
that
Red
was
Roof
not
Inn,
a
man.
that was not a very good job. If I had to pitch a sequel to this one, it's not one that I would really want to make the sequel. But if I did, I would say that like maybe something goes down, like Brian Kelly's helping out Lucero, so he helps him bust like a bike gang that's dealing drugs or some shit. But then the heat's on, so he's got to go out of town, lay low till the heat is off. So he goes to Pennsylvania and hang out with his Uncle Charlie. And then shenanigans ensue from there. Love fun with his
You
Uncle
know what?
Charlie Kelly.
Here's one thing I was thinking about. What if we had Brian Kelly as a character who took V on The Boys? What would he do? What would we?
I'm trying to think what his superpower.
Skateboarder,
Like,
dude.
Right, yeah. Like how would he?
he's like make his own wind or something, right? So he could like propel himself faster on the skateboard, or like he gains momentum.
The possibilities
Like,
are kind of endless when you think about
Yeah,
it.
like
What if
someone
it's
like
what if
kinetic,
it's
like
a hoverboard? Like he can just fly on the skateboard, dude.
Or you can make anything into anything into a hoverboard, kind of.
Yeah, we could go on and on about that, but that's something to fucking chew on for a little bit. That, and if you want to bring it back, I really think something like that would be cool, like in an Old West, like if you want to take them into Tombstone. But the problem there would be skating on sandy ground.
Yeah, that kills a lot of it. You pretty much need the hoverboard there, like
Gotta have the hoverboard for that. Or
land
what
sand
about
skis.
skating in space, dude? I mean, nobody ever really thought about that. How would that work out?
Someone will do it sooner or later, right? Like they already golfed on the
Imagine
moon,
if you could
right?
add a switch where you could turn gravity on and off. So if you're doing like tricks, you can turn gravity off real quick, and then turn it back on to land it. Like that would be fucking cool, right?
So I wonder what happens first. Someone either skates in space or Fish releases a song titled "Skating in Space." Yeah, one of them's about to happen fairly soon. Anything else like kind of transportation wise? Like this one is skateboarding. I've always wanted like a big Zamboni scene. Like we've gotten little teases of a Zamboni. I would like that. Jamie G, you have any kind of like alternate transportation? Like we got skateboarding here. I like Zambonis. Any kind of particular random transportation you'd like to have a movie kind of centered on?
Big fan of like what you could do with golf carts and like drunk dads golfing with golf cart races and wars and stuff.
Speed golf races. Like
Yeah,
Come hang out in my neighborhood for like 2 days, dude. You'll see
that could be a lot of fun, dude.
I'm there for that one 100%. I think that would be a great time. And I'd like to actually participate in that one.
Yes.
Like
Yeah,
normally,
it's
most of
whipping
these I
around
just
in a
want to
golf
film
cart,
and make
dude.
money. Like that one, I'd actually like to participate.
Yeah.
I'll be active. That'll be a good time. And generally, anything with golf carts usually is fun.
Where I live, I see that. Well, I don't see the movie aspect of it every day, but I definitely see drunk idiots or drunk parents or anybody. There's so many There's more golf carts. Well, pretty close to the same amount of golf carts as cars around here. So, and I'd rather see more golf carts. I'd rather get rid of cars. Cars are the problem. People drive like idiots on cars. But anyway, I'm not going to get into that.
Yeah,
So,
at least in the golf cart, like if you mess up, you'll die. So there's
and you can't really speed. So.
not much else here outside of that, but I think this was a pretty good dream team here, man. There's a lot of options between Brian Kelly with skateboarding, so we're grateful for all of the options we came up with here. It's been a very successful session of Dream Team, if I don't say so myself.
Absolutely. And shout out rollerblades. I'd like to see them make a comeback as well. Rollerblades can be fun too.
I want rollerblades to make a comeback and hoverboards, like real hoverboards, to actually finally happen.
Yeah, let's go with the
Please and thank you.
hoverboards, man. Come on.
Yeah, quit. Yeah, just make with the hoverboards, please and thank you.
Welcome to the award tour. For the first stop, we're going to honor Elaine Bennis, creator of the second greatest system of all time. I mean, it's great, but it ain't no Dennis system. Am I right?
So you think you're sponge-worthy?
Yes, I think I'm sponge-worthy. I think I'm very sponge-worthy.
You're nuts with these sponges.
Run down your case for me again.
She said I wasn't sponge-worthy. Wouldn't waste a sponge on me.
We pay homage to Elaine by determining if our featured review is sponge-worthy. Mills, update us on our current sponge supply and tell us if you think Gleaming the Cube is in fact sponge-worthy.
Jamie G, I am relatively flush here, sitting at 6.5 sponges. You yourself are not as flush as you once were, but you are still doing well in the market. You have 4.5 sponges. The soup is now at 3.0 sponges. He picked up a half a sponge in our warm-up, so I think I have one to spare here for Gleaming the Cube. It's not one that I watched as a kid that I have a ton of nostalgia for, but it's a solid flick. I had fun watching it. I don't know that I'm gonna be thinking about it 3 months from now, but I'll definitely think about it more when I see a Pizza Hut or a skateboarder or something like that. I had fun with it. It's worth a sponge to me. Jamie G, how about yourself? Is Gleaming the Cube sponge worthy?
I gotta give it a yes, man. It is sponge-worthy. I had a lot of fun with it. It's a good watch. I'm probably not gonna make it like a monthly or an annual thing or put it on my list or anything, but I certainly enjoyed it, and I wouldn't be shy about watching it again sometime in the future. So yeah, man, it's sponge-worthy. It was fun to watch it, fun to talk about it.
Soup, are you gonna make it an overall unanimous worthy? My guess is yes.
Yeah, of course, man. I mean, definitely sponge-worthy, dude. Like I said, I think this is the movie that kind of really introduced you to who Christian Slater was. Like I said, there was stuff before this. But this was kind of like, I don't know. And not only that, but yeah, it's nostalgic. It's a good flick. For me, it's kind of special in a way, and or in many ways. And there's a lot of good things about this movie, man, and it's enjoyable. So yes, very sponge-worthy for me.
It is officially worthy. Wayne and Garth, they're not worthy when it comes to Alice Cooper, but Gleaming the Cube is worthy to us dudes.
Now that the worthiness of Gleaming the Cube has been determined, it's time to give this bad boy a grade. Hail Scroob, we grade everything we watch on a scale of 0 to 100 space bucks. Soup, this was yo baby. And let's just say you're not known for being stingy with the space bucks. How many space bucks can you spare for Gleaming the Cube?
Yeah, well, I'm gonna probably go ahead and this movie came out what 88, 89?
89.
89 space bucks it is, man.
89 space bucks. Jamie G, how about yourself?
I wrote it on the paper. We did not predetermine this. I too am at 89 space bucks.
Oh, and I feel bad because I also wrote it on the paper. I'm not an 89, but I'm at a solid 80 space bucks for me. Not what I have a lot of fondness for going in. So I think this is actually a success for me. I feel 80 space bucks is a pretty good grade. Again, I had fun with it. Not going to be adding it to my list of stuff that I rewatch constantly. But Ghost Slater, fun skateboarding flick, no problemo. So 89, 89, 80, solid set of grades. You bring that home to your parents. If they're mad, they're just hating.
Before we dive into what we're watching next, it's time for the questions 3.
Who would cross the bridge of death must answer me these questions 3.
3 questions. What if you get a question wrong? Then you are cast into the gorge of eternal peril.
Ask me the questions. I am not afraid.
And we shall watch and pray.
This is the questions 3, and here is how it works. This week, I have written questions for Jamie G and the Soup Deucer. The winner gets a sponge, and I get a sponge for writing the questions. Each correct answer is worth 1 point. Whoever has the most points at the end of the 3 questions is victorious. If there is a tie, we will do tiebreaker questions. Gentlemen, if you wish to cross the bridge of death, you must answer me these questions 3. Soup, you are up first this week. First, we have a multiple choice question here regarding Ed Lauter, in the movie here as Brian's dad. I'm going to ask you 4 things, and you have to tell me what one of these Ed Lauter has not been in. So he's been in 3 of the 4. He hasn't been in 1. You have to tell me what he has not been in. Gotcha. First up, A, he appeared in an Arnold movie in the 80s.
Any Arnold? Okay.
In an 80s Arnold movie. B, he appeared in a Revenge of the Nerds movie. C, he appeared on the X-Files. D, he appeared on Coach, the Craig T. Nelson series. So which one of those 4 did he not do? 80s Arnold movie, Revenge of the Nerds movie, X-Files, Coach.
Going with Revenge of the Nerds.
He's going with B, Revenge of the Nerds. 2. Question 2. Pretty easy here. True or false? Christian Slater appeared on Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Yeah, true.
He says true. And finally, question 3. In what year was the original Tony Hawk's Pro Skater video game released? A, 1998, B, 1999, C, 2000, D, 2001.
Damn. 98.
He goes A, 1998. Jamie G, you are next up here on the questions 3. Question 1. In the episode of The Boys Diabolical called An Animated Short Where Pissed Off Soups Kill Their Parents, which character did Christian Slater voice? A, Slow-Mo, B, the narrator, C, Dennis Fletcher, D, Booby Face.
I'm going to say the narrator.
B, the narrator. Question 2. True or false for you? True or false? Tony Hawk has appeared on The Simpsons.
I got to say true. Everyone's appeared on The Simpsons. I got it.
Jamie G goes with the law of averages. And finally, on which TV series does Christian Slater have the most appearances? A. Archer. B. Robot Chicken. C. Mr. Robot. D. Inside Job.
Ha! Oh man, yeah. Shout out Inside Job. I'm gonna go Mr. Robot on this one.
He goes C. Mr.
But
Robot.
Archer was a close second. And I'm worried I'm worried Archer's the right answer, but
He is hedging over here. Let's review the results. Question one. Soup, I asked you which of these did not appear on Ed Lauder's IMDb resume? An 80s Arnold movie, Revenge of the Nerds movie, appearance on X-Files, appearance on Coach. You went with B, Revenge of the Nerds movie. It was actually D. He did not appear on Coach, but he was the coach in Not Another Teen movie. So it might have been in your head that he looked like a coach. He was a football coach, but he didn't appear on Coach. Jamie G, question one. In the episode of The Boys Diabolical, an animated short where pissed off soups kill their parents, you said Christian Slater played B, the narrator. That is correct. So you have 1.20 for the soup. Question two, soup, asked you, true or false, Slater appeared on Curb. You said true. That is correct. That is true. So now you have a 1 point. Jamie G, question two, you had your own true or false. True or false, Tony Hawk appeared on The Simpsons. You said true, and it was indeed true. At this point, approaching 700, 800 episodes, whatever, yes, almost everybody has appeared on The Simpsons. Probably best to guess yes, just by default. Soup, question three for you. What year was the original Tony Hawk Pro Skater video game released? Your options range from 1998 to 2001. You went with A, 1998. Unfortunately, it was B in 1999. So you are stuck on the 1 point. Jamie G, your third question. On which TV series did Christian Slater have the most appearances? Archer, Robot Chicken, Mr. Robot, Inside Job. You went with C, Mr. Robot, and you were correct. That gives you 3 points. 2-1 for the soup. You get a clean sweep. Congratulations. You are now the proud owner of an additional sponge. You can give a short little speech here, ideally praising Christian Slater and Mr. Robot, me for writing the questions, maybe even Inside Job. What do you have for us?
I just wish I could do a Slater impression. I just wish I had that. And he's just so cool, so awesome. He's a real MVP. Mills, great job writing the questions. Soup, outstanding competition. I needed the sponge. I'm glad, and I hope I can give it to something real great next week on whatever we decide to do. Thank you, boys.
Nice tease. Good job, dude. Good job. Well done. Well done. Good speech. Good speech. Good speech.
Solid, man.
The last box we have to check is determining what we're watching next. To start off, we're going to spin the wheel in the sky to determine the nomination category. Mills, please hit the button. Send us on our way. Hey.
All right, and this is it, dude. We're all right.
Crank the wheel.
We got a lot of categories here. We're going to press the wheel. We're going to see what happens.
All right.
Revenge of the Y2K. Pretty simple. Just something after January 1st, 2000. Something from 2000 thereafter. That wouldn't be difficult for most people, but we definitely enjoy our 80s and 90s. So that'll make us think outside of the box a little bit. This could be a fun one.
All right, we are back. Here's how this works. We each get one nomination and one vote. No, you cannot vote for your own nomination. If there is a tie, we kick it to the wheel in the sky, and the fate of the wheel will decide for us. The nomination order is as follows. Up first, the Soup Deucer, followed by myself, Jamie G. Esquire the fifth. Then finally, Magnum Mills will close us out. Soup, go ahead. Lead us off with your strong hand here, dude. I know you locked in early. What are you going with?
Dude, I locked in early because it caught me. It was something after 2000 was the category. So my first instinct led me before 2000, so I had to call it quick audible. And then my second pick is this is one of my favorite movies of all time. Like, it's up there, dude. Like, way up there. Like, it's a very, very, very good movie. not only just for me, but overall, it's an awesome movie with a ridiculously awesome soundtrack. I think it's very worthy of us doing. I'm going all in here, and I'm pitching Devil's Rejects, man, the Rob Zombie flick, the follow up to House of a Thousand Corpses. You do not have to have seen House of a Thousand Corpses to watch and enjoy this movie, although you can always go back to it. That's just the reason why this happened. This movie is really, really good. Like, it's well done. It's not just a sick, weird horror movie. It's very well written, very well acted. It's got funny. It's just all over the place. It's awesome. If you haven't seen it, if you have seen it, it's worth a rewatch. I'm excited to rewatch this thing 'cause it's been a minute even for me. So I hope this gets picked. It is an incredibly well-made movie and just shows the brilliance of Rob Zombie, and not to mention the incredibly awesome soundtrack. So
Too bad it seemed more human than human right there, I feel.
it is more human than human for sure.
It is one of the best
great fucking
soundtracks and great needle drops. Good shout there. Man, this is gonna get tough and tough, dude. All right, so we got a banger to start us off here. I am going also in a weird way here. It came up in conversation over spring break, and I realized I hadn't watched it in so long, and I've been looking for a reason. And by golly, tonight fate decided it is the reason I was looking for. I got it. I'm going with the psychological thriller, suspenseful mystery, Christopher Nolan joint, Memento. This is just such a great movie. Former insurance investigator who suffers from amnesia uses a series of notes, tattoos, different things to hunt down his wife's murderer. Really great movie. Been a long time since I checked out Memento. Looking forward to this one, man. Would love to do this and talk about it here on Regular Dudes Watch Stuff.
Oh, I for a second I thought you were gonna go with Insomnia, which I had considered. I have two I'm down to here. One is a very, very, very comedic joint. One is comedic with also other elements. And you know what? I heard other people complaining like, oh, this movie would never get made nowadays. I still think it would. I think it's an important one, a fun one. How about Tropic Thunder, dude? Getting a little bit of everything in here. Justin Theroux wrote this one. Ben Stiller directing, starring Robert Downey Jr. playing a guy, playing a guy, playing a guy. You get some Nick Nolte, Danny McBride. It's saying a lot of things about not only Hollywood, but about acting in general. Tom Cruise obviously is Les Grossman here. Matthew McConaughey tearing it up, having a ton of fun. So I think this is a movie that it has a lot to say. I think it's aged pretty well despite the premise, and I'd love to recheck Tropic Thunder. So that's it. Those are the nominees. So it's time to vote. We do that in the inverse order in which we nominated. So I will be first to vote, followed by Jamie G. The Soup Deucer is potentially the decider. And for the record, the Soup nominated The Devil's Rejects. Jamie G nominated Memento, and I nominated Tropic Thunder. Jamie G, you had me at Christopher Nolan. I rewatched Interstellar recently. I'm kind of feeling it. I almost rewatched Memento. I think it's a really cool one. I've never kind of watched it with a really like critical eye and like really trying to track everything that happens. Great cast, Carrie Ann Moss, Joey Pants here. Very, very, very good stuff. So I'm going to cast my vote for Memento. Jamie G, how about yourself? Devil's Rejects or Tropic Thunder?
I gotta go with Devil's Rejects, man. It's such a great movie. The soundtrack's incredible. The usage of the needle drops. It's not just the House of a Thousand Corpses is just a weird, messed up. It's like a crazy, music video for for Rob Zombie that's just gone bad. This is an actual bona fide movie. This is really good. It has a bunch of different stuff in it. As Soup said, you got action, adventure,
one of the most intense end scenes ever.
one of the most intense end scenes ever. It's very good, with an incredible needle drop that goes along with it in just perfect harmony. But it's also got a bunch of introductions to a bunch of fun side characters here, that offer up some humor and some different things. So it's still a Rob Zombie joint. It's still a twisted, messed up thing, but it's a really good movie. It's been a while for me, so I'm going to go Devil's Rejects.
Soup, you are potentially the decider. You can vote for Memento or Tropic Thunder.
That puts me in a position because I am going to pick Tropic Thunder, man. Not that I don't want to see Memento again, because I do. That was a good movie. I forget who the is it. Whoever is in that plays a fucking great character. He's writing,
Guy
yeah,
Pearce.
yeah, okay, okay. I do remember that movie being very good, but Tropic Thunder, dude, there's a lot more elements there that I think we would have more fun talking about all the elements in Tropic Thunder. So I'm going to cast my vote for that one.
Well, then we have a tie, dude. So we are going to have to spin the wheel, and the wheel will decide. Here we go. Three options on the wheel: Devil's Rejects, Memento, Tropic Thunder. Oh, it's looking like Memento.
Oh man! All right, there it is. There it is.
I have this condition.
A condition?
It's my memory.
Amnesia.
No. It's different from that. Since my injury, I can't make new memories. Everything fades. If we talk for too long, I'll forget how we started. And next time I see you, I'm not going to remember this conversation.
What's the last thing that you do remember?
My wife.
That's sweet.
Dying. I have no short-term memory. Since my injury, I can't make new memories. Everything fades. If we talk for too long, I'll forget how we started. And next time I see you, I'm not going to remember this conversation. I don't even know if I've mentioned before. I've told you this before, haven't I?
Better get going. You don't want to miss 1 second of that movie.
Is it that good?
It's the best goddamn movie I've ever seen in my life.
Oh.
Dude hangs dumb.
I don't want to miss that.
Jamie G, this was your baby, Memento here, man. Get a sight for it, man. Like, it's a little bit twisty. Maybe it doesn't hold up as it's a little bit different on rewatch because you kind of know what's happening. But it's certainly a very novel film, and obviously kickstarted Christopher Nolan's incredible career.
Yeah, the way it's directed, the way it looks, you get an outstanding supporting cast. Our main character is playing an unbelievable role, willing to kind of do crazy things to find out, who killed his wife. It's an awesome story. Excited to kind of see it. It's been a long time since I watched it, at least 10, 15 years. So it will be somewhat, I will have still some of that element of what's happening. So I am excited about that. And I just think it's just a psychological thriller. We haven't really done anything like that, or at least in a long time. So excited about it, man. All three would have made for a great show. So excited to do Memento.
Hear ye, hear ye. Jamie G came through with the thing thanks to the wheel. So, we did our best, but yeah, I think these were all very worthy nominees. You can always do any Christopher Nolan joint, but this will be a fun one, kind of going back to the roots and seeing how he made this one low budget, man. Great Joey Pants performance, dude. Joey Pantoliano, like career performance here, I think.
Remember, the thing I remember from Memento was just the way he acted so well about it. I remember the quote, like, "I'm not very good on the phone," or like things like that.
Yeah, because when you didn't know the premise of it at first or whatever, it was like it's brilliantly written.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to going back and watching this one because I've always
Jonathan Nolan. I think you're getting Westworld, Person of Interest. A lot of shows at this point. Fallout. Had a big hand in the script, I believe.
Cool. Yeah,
should be cool one, man. But we will get to the Devil's Rejects and the Tropic Thunder. Don't you worry.
I feel like those will both be good ones for us, man. Yeah, absolutely.
We will get there, and we cannot get
one
there.
day. Frankie the Fly too. You never know.
Yeah, we'll see you when we get there, dude.
Yeah. But we can't do it without you guys. Thank you for checking out another episode of Regular Dudes Watch Stuff. We really appreciate it. You made it this far. You had a good time. Throw the thumb, like and subscribe. Means a lot to us. Doesn't cost you anything, and it makes sure you don't miss one of these because we do a bunch of cool stuff. Let us know what you want us to do. Drop a comment below, and let us know if we inspired you to go check out Gleaming the Cube, man. It's a good one. It's a good watch. It's out there on Amazon Prime. Check it out. Mills will let you know where you can find all of our social media and interact with us wherever you see fit. We'll probably respond. Maybe we will, maybe we won't, but it's likely we do. Mills, let them know where they can find us.
You should know you can check out Memento on Amazon Prime Video if you have a subscription, as well as Peacock. So multiple ways to check it out. Going to be a good one. Thanks again for checking out Regular Dudes Watch Stuff. We really appreciate you gleaming the cube with us. We're out there doing our best in the zone. Thanks again for checking out the show. You can find us wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Find us on social media at Dudes Watch Stuff, on the web at dudeswatchstuff.com. Very simple, very easy to remember, just like those flaps, FLAPS. Very crucial to our success. Follow, like, and please subscribe. If you had fun, make sure you click that thumb. I'm Maggie Mills. That's Jamie G with the Soup Deucer. We're the dudes doing the thing. Thanks for checking it out. And hopefully, thanks for checking us out again next time.
Thanks again for checking out Regular Dudes Watch Stuff. We're just dudes being dudes, talking about the dude.
Yeah, man. And sometimes the dudes gleam the cube, but the dudes always abide.
Abide by the cube, man.
Abide by the cube, dude. Yeah.
Abide by the cube, dude.
The bullion cube, man.
Come on. Ah, hey! Gotcha.